What's happening, guys? I'm here. It's happening. It's happening. It's definitely happening. Obviously not the way it normally happens, but it's happening. Are we alive there? Did this shit just... All right. Let's go. I'm here. I'm here, Mr. Sean. What's going on? Yeah. Everything good? Can you guys hear me? Are we good? Not a new setting. Not a new setting. I'm currently at my dad's house in Las Vegas. That's what's going on, guys. Now, new location. Who this? Nah, man, this is the Vegas stream, man. What are you talking about? Yeah, guys, I'm currently at my dad's house in Vegas. Everything's good? Okay, good. All right, so just making sure. Oh, I forgot to do that, but house in Vegas. So the audio sounds good. No, everything's good. Okay, keep that. No, just making sure. No. Oh, I forgot to do. All right, just making sure everything's good here. It's obviously a different kind of setup here. Let me make sure Twitch is looking good because I forgot to open up that page. Twitch. Twitch. All right, let's do it like that. Okay, dashboard, we got good. Because now I'm just dealing with one screen as opposed to having my laptop be my second screen. So just bear with me, folks. We're good. We're good. Vegas cocaine hooker stream. There you go. Let's do a line, huh? Let's do a line. But cheers, guys. It definitely is Friday. So we're here to have some drinks and have some fun. So cheers, guys. Appreciate you clicking in. Just letting you know. Vegas. I guess Vegas is kind of open. Does your dad know you're the film junkie? He absolutely does. He's Papa Film Junkie. He's got look at all his collectible shit that he has right there. And he's still moving in too, by the way. And sadly, he's a Dodgers fan. He's a Dodgers fan. What can I say? But yeah, he's still moving in, so he's still rearranging stuff and everything. What's going on, Will? Film Junkie Senior. Now. Now he knows, yeah, let's get nuts. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. No, but he knows very well about the Film Junkie stuff. And like I said, at first I wasn't gonna do a vodka stream this week, but I figured, you know what, I have to. I gotta make sure that the Bluetooth is fucking working here, okay? Because when everybody comes on, I'm gonna have to turn everything down. Okay, so I'm gonna have to reconnect my Bluetooth stuff here. I got these new Bluetooth earbuds, and they're pretty nice. Do you have a favorite episode of BTAS of Batman the Animated Series? What would be one of my one of my favorite episodes is when the Riddler traps Commissioner Gordon inside a game, and Batman has to go in there and get him. And I think Robin too, yeah, where they have to go in there and get him. That's one of my that's a good one. Another one of my favorite episodes that just hit me right now is when the Mad Hatter has Batman and he has him strapped in, so he's like in this fantasy world where his parents are still alive. That was a good episode too. And of course the two-part Two-Face episode was great. No partying tonight? Hey, I mean, Vegas is not fully like, it's not craziness out there, and I don't know if I want to get craziness out there because, I mean, Jesus Christ. Clayface episode, that's a good one. Yeah, what is reality? There you go, Scott. See, Scott is just, he knows. That's what I love about Scott, man. When you're like trying to think of like an episode or think of like anything from a story, I mean, I can always rely on Scott to just pull it out, man. So he'll be joining later, I'm sure. And we'll be talking about some of this Batman stuff. A lot of Batman stuff. The main reason why I still wanted to do a vodka stream tonight was basically because I wanted to talk to these guys about that shiz, just to see what's like, just to see what they have to say about all the recent rumored news with everything, with basically almost like an expansion of the Batverse, which is why I called it the Batverse today. But is it crazy that I'd rather see Jeffrey D. Morgan as Thomas Wayne than Michael Keaton? Yeah, but that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing when it comes to that. I mean, if Michael Keaton is playing Thomas Wayne, that would be extremely stupid. That would be dumb. That would be ultimate stunt casting right there. Ultimate. I mean, this whole thing is stunt casting. Yeah, for sure. I get it. One of my buddies is like, oh, come on, that's stunt casting to the max. I'm like, no. I mean, if they can make it work with the multiverse and having it be that specific Batman, playing playing the actual Bruce Wayne in that world, then it works out. But if he's gonna play Thomas Wayne, I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. Doesn't work, man. I don't like it. I don't like it. So I don't think they're gonna do that. That'd be just extremely stupid if they did that. It'd be really dumb. JDM needs to be Thomas Wayne. Yeah, exactly. It's either you have Dean Morgan play Thomas Wayne, or that's it. Or that's it. You know, you don't do it. It just wouldn't make sense, especially if it's still Ben Affleck in this universe, you know, in this universe where Ezra Miller's Flash is. I'm sorry, but Michael Keaton doesn't look like the father of Ben Affleck, okay? There's a slight difference in genetics there. I'm just saying, okay? Nothing against Michael Keaton, but he's a little small, you know, small guy, smaller guy. Ben Affleck's huge. Jeffrey D. Morgan, also huge. It works. So it would not make any kind of sense. Yeah, and like what you said right here, Ryan, I mean, something like that, that'd be fine, you know? It's just, he's not going to be Thomas Wayne. That would be just dumb. I know, and that's what we're hoping for, man. I don't know. We're just kind of waiting on him. Just waiting on him. I know. It's all just very much up in the air, but oh yeah. Can we talk about something real important? Yeah, Margot Robbie. She's going to be the female lead in the new style. I don't know if it's like a spin-off, an offshoot, a reboot, a sequel. I don't know, but she's going to star in the new Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm like, hey, if you're going to reboot Pirates of the Caribbean, you might as well do it with Margot Robbie. And I wouldn't mind seeing her in some pirate outfit. I'm sure it's going to be tasteful, though, guys. Come on, relax. Okay, it's 2020. Let's wake up. What's going on, man? What's going on, Parag? How you doing? Different background, man. Different background, Ben, because I am currently in my dad's house in Las Vegas. That's right. Visiting him for the weekend. Surprised him, even though he kind of knew we were coming. So, you know, it happened. So Papa Film Junkee knew that we were coming. So, but yeah, we showed up today. Sorry if I look a little glistening. It is freaking hot over here in Vegas. And I should have probably wiped down my face before I did that, before I turned it on. They say Margot's Robbie Pirates of the Caribbean is separate from the reboot, but its description sounds exactly like a yeah. See, I mean that's what it's just, I don't know. But it's Margot Robbie. You can't go wrong, right? Disney is going to ruin Pirates just like they ruined Star Wars in Maryville. Did Ben Affleck sign a new contract to play Batman? I haven't heard anything. I hope he did. I hope he's going to, at least. I don't know. It's all very much up in the air. Yeah, where's Casual? I left Casual Batman at home. Yeah, no, he should probably be part of this discussion, but, you know. Hey, cheers, Gustavo. Salud. Oh, yeah, you dig my man jewelry? I know. I'm weird. I like to balance it out with the watch. See? That's me right there. I don't know why. I'm one of those guys. I don't know why. I'm just one of. But you like my shirt? Guys, dig my shirt? Look at this. Just got this shirt. It's awesome. Amazon. I was like, you know what? I need a good Ghostbusters shirt, you know? And I went on Amazon, and this one popped up, and I was like, sold. Sold. Show us your Vegas hooker cards. I can't show you those yet. Jedi mouth. Come on. Casual Superman in Vegas. Yeah, I mean, as far as, when it comes to Vegas being open, check this out. Woo, see, my dad's got a lot of cool stuff. Remember, my dad was an Army guy. Look at this shit. Woo. He's got a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, see? He's about to retire. So, there you go. I'm almost showing my dad's stuff right now. Yeah, so it's my dad. This is my dad's makeshift office. He just moved into this house like a month ago, so he's still trying to set shit up. Honestly, DC fandom is where, yeah, exactly. We're going to find everything out, but we still got what? How long? It's still like 2 months away. It's so far. It feels so far away, but it'll be here before you know it. So, but it just feels so far away, man. So you're one of those guys too, yeah? I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just, I got so used to it, and then it's just like, okay, I'm like fucking Johnny Depp or Tom Hardy. But I love watches, and then I was like, you know what? I need something on this side too. So you, you don't want to know what my dad's into? You're ridiculous. I'm a proud son. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? It's good stuff. But yeah. So I'll be here till, I don't know. We're kind of debating, me and my brother. We're kind of debating on whether we're going to be here till Sunday evening or Monday morning. So I don't know. We'll see. Someone enter the Speed Force and get us to August already. I know. Seriously, just run really, really fast toward the wall. I know. I gotta watch Stargirl. I'll get there one of these days. I'm still behind on other stuff. Nah, he's not. I don't think he's gonna show us any screen time. He's they're out there on the patio right now, just chilling, having a couple beers, stuff. While I'm in here working. What's going on there, Dark Zed? Thanks for joining, guys. Like I said, I was not gonna have a vodka stream because I was here, but it's just too much stuff to talk about, which I've been talking about all week. Yeah, I heard something about a Universal movie with Will Smith. Yeah, I haven't looked into it yet. I've seen people send it to me, but I haven't checked it out. So yeah, it's gonna be free. Don't worry. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I haven't watched it yet. I keep hearing good things. So, Chris, how are you, man? I'm Chris. My name's Dave, not Chris. You're getting me mixed up with my my Hawaiian buddy over there, which might show up in a little bit. I guess you never know. My son's in there. Yeah, you know what's funny is like I explained it to him. I explained to my dad about. I was like, you know what, Michael Keaton might be coming back as Batman. He was like, what? And so I had to explain how it was possible to him, and he was kind of looking at me like, what? Because it's to explain how Michael Keaton's going to come back as Batman to somebody who's not familiar with the comic books and how Flash is and the multiverse and everything. It's kind of difficult. So, Colbert should be casual Commissioner Gordon. He should be like the Commissioner Gordon on Harley Quinn. That is awesome. I love that Commissioner Gordon. That guy's freaking hilarious. So, Dave, when are you gonna reveal that you're Dane Cook in disguise? Oh man, don't bring that back. I got that so much when he was like huge. When Dane Cook was huge, I got that so much. Dave, you goofy goat. Hey, good to see you too. All right, I'm down for someone to buy me a beer. That's fine. I love that. I think Jamie Foxx ended up being perfect, though. It's hard to see him as Django now. Oh, you're talking about Will Smith? How Will Smith almost got the gig and he passed it up or something? My thoughts on Pat Hingle's Gordon, I didn't mind it, but they just didn't make him that Gordon-esque. That's the only bad part about that. He didn't feel like the Commissioner Gordon that he should be. He was a good Gordon, but I don't know. It's just the Batman and Gordon dynamic just was not there in the Burton movies, and well, all the movies. He was in all four of them, and that Batman Commissioner Gordon dynamic just wasn't captured in those movies. It wasn't captured. I mean, they captured it pretty well with Nolan's verse, and I'm sure they would have captured it pretty damn good when it came to the Snyderverse. Come on. So, but yeah. What beer would you like? Corona. Yeah. Mahershala Ali. Almost. Yeah, he was. Apparently, they looked at him for Gordon. The ride was cool. Nothing. The only cool thing that happened was when we were driving through the desert. It was literally. It's basically what's happening in the southwest of our country here, or the United States. For those of you that aren't here, basically what happened is what's happening right now is it's like monsoon weather. It's kind of muggy outside. So when we were driving through the desert, there was like this big, huge cloud, and you could totally tell that there was rain coming down. And then we saw little lightning bolts. So that was kind of cool. Yes, sir. Guests are coming on. Don't worry. You don't have to just see me. Hey, how about next time you do a stone cold beer stream? Maybe. Yeah. You're right. It did feel like that because there wasn't that dynamic in the TV show. So. Oh yeah, 100%, dude. I hated that movie. The Robin Hood movie. That was like my most hated movie. Whatever year that came out, that was like my most hated movie. I hated that. I fucking hated that, man. It's gross. I don't even know what the hell they were trying to achieve with that. They were trying to be cool with something, and it just did not work. It did not freaking work. All right. Where am I posting this thing here? Hold on a sec, guys. What the hell? Okay. So, boop. There's that. And whoever wants to join. Do. All right, see who wants to freaking join this thing. Oh, I'm looking at that. Ooh, lighter. I like King Arthur. King Arthur was way better. Light years better. Light years better than Robin Hood. But it still had its problems. But I think it was a lot of studio interference. To be honest, I thought it was a lot of studio interference. But I mean, I dug it. So we'll see what happened. And I just feel like they kind of messed with it, and Guy Ritchie didn't get out his full vision. But hopefully, maybe there's a release a Ritchie cut. I don't know. We can all hope, right? We can all hope there's alternate cuts of all these movies. All right. All right, guys, you ready for some of the panel here? Let me make sure I got my earbuds working here. Hold on.
Hey, how you doing? I can't hear you now.
Hey, yeah. What happened to Chris?
No. I'm still okay.
There you go.
Okay, we can hear you, Dave, now.
What the heck? I don't even have my turn up. Hold on a sec. I'm still. It's very difficult to do this with my limited resources. My earbuds are not working. I don't know why. You guys can hear me though, right?
Yes,
we can hear you now. Yeah.
I don't know why these are not working. Hold on. Damn Bluetooth. I tell you what. Anyways.
There you go. He's gone again.
He's gone again.
Well, happy Friday, Scott.
I'm doing fine, Chris. How about you?
Good, Harry.
This is like the epitome of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I mean, we can't even hear what Dave's saying. I mean, literally is staying in Vegas.
Stay in Vegas. I thought we were going to call this the Vegas Street, but I guess it doesn't make sense because he's the only one in Vegas.
Should be. Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I guess, is there any echo or anything, or are we good?
No, it's perfectly fine for me.
I don't know. For some reason, my little earbuds are not working. Like anytime I try to connect them, it just falls flat. So I don't know what the heck's going on. So I guess I'm just not going to have these on then, as per usual. That's fine. Anyways, gentlemen, how's it going? Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yes, like I said, the Vegas stream. Woo!
Yeah.
Scott's ready to fucking party. He's got the.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
it looks fun.
Well, thank you. And there we go.
Fedora party.
There you go.
Okay. So who's Dean, who's Frank, and who's Sammy? That's what I need to know.
Right? That's true. Let's see. I don't know. I think you'll be Dean, Scott. You have that voice. You have that really good voice. See, there you go. See, 100%. I don't know. Times are kind of weird right now. I don't know if anybody should do a Sam impression.
Right. No. I suck at everything. Suck at impressions. No.
Right. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining. How you guys been? How's your week been?
You want to go first?
Well, I mean, it was okay. I was on your show on Tuesday, so everything's. That's right. It was decent. It was a decent week then.
That was the highlight of the week, I think.
See,
I actually had to go into work yesterday, so that was the only downer of my week.
That you had to go into work. Wait, you don't?
I had to go into work.
You don't enjoy your job? What are you talking about?
Well, no, it's summer vacation. I'm not supposed to work.
Do you have summer online classes? I got summer online. I mean, my kids got
No,
summer online classes.
It was a planning meeting. Trying to get ready because, honestly, just trying to prepare for what is next year going to look like. Because who knows what that's going to look like?
My brother's a teacher in high school. He's a math teacher, and he was just saying like he doesn't even know what's going to happen with all that. So,
oh no.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be like early August, but now they're going to delay it to like late August or something. At least the school's here anyway.
No. All I know is that my third kid is being born the same week I'm going back to work. So
wow.
Yeah.
You did that on purpose.
Oh my god. Yeah.
You're looking at your calendar like, all right, tonight. Yeah.
Is there paternity leave?
Unfortunately not. That is not a thing. Paternity leave means I just take my sick days. That's
wow.
Yeah.
Because I know in California, guys can take paternity leave over here.
Yeah, not in Alabama.
Not in Alabama.
That's not a thing.
Not in Alabama.
Not in Alabama. Wow.
Wow.
That's cruel.
Yeah.
But anyways, he was talking about my brother was talking about that. He has no idea what's happening. I mean, there's colleges and stuff that are just going flat out online. Like my nephew, he's his girlfriend, she's going to University of Riverside over here, or not over here, but over back home, and I guess they're going to do flat out just online stuff, no dorms, no nothing. And I'm just like, that sucks because you don't get that college experience,
Wow.
Yeah,
that would suck. But it is what it is, and COVID cases are rising.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the media is going to overinflate it a little bit, but I mean, I try to look at the day to day and see where it's doing this. Where you just got to get to the point. It's like, well, what can we do here? I mean, I'll gladly anywhere I can go into, and if you want me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. But I
don't think they're going to close at any time. I think they're like, how people are thinking second wave, they're going to lock down again. I think that we're past that. We're kind of like, we're not going to lock down again.
I heard Texas might actually close.
Texas might?
Yeah, I think the governor of Texas was talking about that. So I don't know.
Yeah, they're doing some rollbacks. I saw that because we were watching a press conference with our state superintendent today that basically said nothing. So I was just like, my wife and I were like, the kids were like wanting to watch like Teen Titans Go, and it was like, sorry, we have to turn the TV off so mommy and daddy can watch the news.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
Well, Daddy could watch Teen Titans Go too.
He was watching Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I mean, and I know over in California, it was like, I thought they were going to start closing things again, but it just doesn't seem like you can now. Like now that you open things up and now people are getting back to work, you can't just go, hey, sorry, you got to get back on unemployment. And apparently, where my actually interesting little thing here that I found out today, a coworker of mine got COVID.
Oh,
yeah, but he's been furloughed. He's been furloughed for the past 5 weeks.
Okay,
so he hasn't been in the office or anything for the past 5 weeks. And he's fine. The only symptoms that he had was he lost his smell and taste for a little bit, and then a couple of few nights he would feel feverish and then wake up feeling fine. But that was it. So. And he lives with his mom still, and she was fine. So it's just so weird.
It affects people differently, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is in epidemiology, and he's been studying like what are those genetic factors that make you more susceptible to getting the severe cases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. So I can't just see them just trying to just close things up again. But they're gonna. The office where I work, they're gonna start taking temperatures before you come in. We have to wear a mask around the office, but if we're at our desk, we don't have to. It's gonna be a whole thing now. I'm like, good God, just make me work from home, please. We have this technology. It's right here. But I don't know. But Chris, you're working from home, right?
Yeah, I'm working from home, especially now. Well, so I'm a rep, so we're like the middleman between the factory and the distributors.
Yeah.
And the distributors are saying, don't come in. So, okay, cool. I'm okay with shooting off, doing bids and on emails and stuff like that. I'm fine with that. I'm good. So, but it's okay right now because, we have to keep the kids on the iPad, those online schools for like 9 to 11:30. So I'm just sitting there next to them, making sure they're listening and not
Good job.
changing it to Monster Hunter or something.
I feel for you guys.
Yeah.
Are you dealing with that too, Scott?
Well, not anymore. I mean, because school for us ended on May 21st.
Yeah.
But my wife and I, since we're both teachers, we definitely were like, this proves why we did not go into elementary school. Me trying to be a first grade teacher for my 7-year-old, I almost was down a kid. I'm just saying.
Man, it's like your patience level is like, put down that toy, boy. It's like, oh man.
And now it's like, what can I do to get you outside? Like, what going over to my in-laws for their pool. It's like, I've spent 7 hours at that pool if it just means that you'll be outside the entire time. I am A-okay with that.
That's
whatever it takes.
Physical activity outside, vitamin D, they always talk about vitamin D being like a, there are a lot of people that got it and that got like really sick from it. They're vitamin D deficient. So it's like, there you go. There needs to be, I just wish they would talk more about preventing this thing than just like, hey, wear a mask. Stay at home. Just like talk about what you could do to like, get a good night's sleep, exercise, get some, it's just like, just all that's.
I think it's out there. I think people just really hone into the negatives all the time. They're like, died, we're how many cases now?
The media scare tactics, and then you just got to choose which scare tactic do you want. Do you want Fox News or you want CNN? Pick one. They're trying to scare you at a different angle. It's just really ridiculous. But hey, look at this little John Eric
Garza tonight. Woo!
He doesn't want to show his
video.
I'm in bed. So.
Oh my God!
It really is a Vegas stream. Okay, we all know who.
I'm fucking tired, man.
What are you wearing?
That's why there's no video.
Yeah, right. Exactly, man. Wouldn't be allowed on YouTube.
I know. Exactly. I appreciate that. You're looking out for me.
Demonetized.
Right. Canceled. No, I noticed you guys were talking about COVID, and Texas is fucking up right now, man.
Dude,
How much is it up? I didn't even look.
Well, no, we just keep getting fucking cases after literally, we had the biggest fucking spike in one day a few days ago.
Yeah, that's why they're talking about closing things up again, right?
Well, no, they already closed it up.
Did they really?
Bars, they closed bars back up.
Shit.
They said 12 o'clock p.m. today, so obviously noon. They were like, you got to shut down, and then any restaurants that have, they're going to have to be open up to 50%, I think, on Monday. And then if you have 51% of your income is alcohol sales, you got to shut down.
Wow.
Whoa.
I never. Yeah. Alcohol. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I was like, God damn, dude.
That's different.
Well.
Okay, well, hey, Garza, we have a perfect question since you just came in, so we can start talking more nerdy shit. But even if Reynolds isn't coming back as Green Lantern, how do y'all think Snyder would bring him in? Perfect timing. Because I know.
I saw that question. I saw that question. I was like, I gotta fucking join in.
That was your call sign.
You called it, what is it, Greenolds or something like that?
Greenolds.
Somebody called it Greenolds, but
okay.
Like here's the thing. I think, like I had mentioned, even whenever Grace had retweeted it and really talked about it. As soon as she had said something, I was saying something, and so were other people. So it wasn't like, and that's why I was like, well, I'm not going to give myself credit on I was the first. I was just the most confident. Truly, because I had heard stuff, but I was, I don't, without being vulgar, I was whipping it out and putting it on people's foreheads, like implanting the fucking Green Lantern symbol. Like, dude, this is what's going to happen. And And so I think the reason why is because I think Zach is truly, I can only imagine the ideas. I mean, if this dude storyboards his entire fucking film before he does anything, imagine him going, all right, now I get the opportunity to retrack or even add in anything else I want right now. I'm fucking going all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether or not he's going to have Ryan Reynolds, which you will, whether or not there's going to be more Green Lanterns in the film, I don't know. But what I think he's ultimately going to do is he's still going to have that teaser effect that he wanted to, because at the end of the day, I'm not expecting him to shoot like 40 fucking minutes of extra footage, right? I know. But like, I don't expect Zach to, like, you know, add additional photography and it's going to take up a full hour of footage. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think people are thinking about Green Lantern. And it's like, he's only going to show up as far as a cameo. He's not going to say any kind of quip or anything. It's not going to be like a Whedon type style, but he's going to show up because he's going to be that older version of Hal Jordan. And he's basically going to be there to go, you guys are fucked. I know you guys think you just defeated Steppenwolf. I know you might have just seen Darkseid, but
so funny because I could hear Reynolds just saying that. You guys are fucked.
Fucked.
The way that he says it, just like
the way he says it too.
Of course, also if he's going to be an older version of Hal, I almost want like the gray temples.
Yes.
Yeah, just hinting at what the gray temples means.
Right.
It's like dun dun dun.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, Garth's been posting. He's been dividing up BVS into episodes. If you guys want to watch it in an episodic format, go check out.
It's really good.
He's been dividing it up, and it's
I didn't expect that intro, Garza. I was just telling you, like, oh wow, he actually put an intro together.
Dude, you don't know how long it took. It took me like probably a week to kind of figure out what I was even going to do, because I had no idea. I was like, I can't just replay the Marthas. I mean the BVS intro. Like, but I still need the credits. If you're gonna have a show, you still need credits.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, fuck. Do I do a trailer like for what's gonna happen, or should I just do it for the what already happened? So I was like, I'll just make it simple. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do the fucking animated. If they're gonna have a little intro of a 3D animated track, I'll just do the exact, like, I had to replicate the title cards. So all of that, every time you see it, the new version, I mean, that's because I recreated it. Like, that's not from the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
because I saw your name on it. I saw Garza.
No, that's why, like, when it came to talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League being divided up into episodes, I'm like, how is he going to do like an intro? And I mean, I remember that rumor way back when it was saying that he was going to have a Watchmen style opening credit scene, like for the Justice League, and I'm like, God, it'd be badass.
Dude,
if he did that.
Can you fucking imagine seeing them all one by one, just fucking slow motion, doing something?
Well, all I can think about is like the opening title sequence for the Justice League cartoon, which was basically that.
Yeah.
It was a featured moment for every well, at that point, just the 7 of them, but just every one of them had a little moment. Yeah. I mean, Chris, you posted the one for Jon Stewart. I think it was today, and I mean, like, I literally tweeted, I can hear this.
That? Yeah,
I can hear that. I know what that sounds like.
And that's what I mean, though. Like, you can imagine just that kind of an intro. Like, Snyder would be the king at that, and I think,
absolutely,
you know, like the way, like Chris, what you said on the second episode, like for it to end right there. Like, the fucking thing is called Batman v Superman, and in the second episode, they still haven't really fucking fought.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's like staring each other down, and I'm like, if I saw that on TV, I literally throw the remote. It's like, what? I have to wait next week.
I know.
I have to wait next week.
And that's the whole point, though, right? Because like, if you looked at it, like the first episode, even though it's basically an hour and 20 minutes, I mean, that's kind of like your entry to everything that this world is about. Because then in the second episode, it gets a lot more political and more, you know, not necessarily self-doubt, but it gets into the very deep and heavier motifs, you know, with the fathers and all that shit.
Right.
And so when you look at it from this next episode, it's like full-on fucking action, like from start to finish, basically. And you don't realize that the way Zach made this film, I mean, dude, I know a lot of people say, oh, it was just too much. It's like, no, I mean, it is too much. I wish it would have gone on for fucking another hour.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you were watching that episodically in 3 episodes and you got to that part and then it cuts, everybody would be talking about the next week for the next full fucking week. well, who's going to win? Obviously, you know why they're going to fight.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you get to see the political aspect of it, and now you get to realize that okay, Lex is really the orchestrator into all of this shit. And guess what? We still have no fucking clue about Doomsday. Like, period.
That's true. Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, you watching Batman and Superman and watching them fight, you'd be like, okay, cool. Like, it's obviously happening at the beginning. So, what the fuck else is in this episode? Because it's not going to end right after they fight. So then you get the BVS warehouse, and you get Doomsday, and then you get the funeral. I mean, all that shit in that one episode. Imagine what Zach can do with, like, what, 4 or 5 fucking hours?
I know.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, that's what's so exciting to see, and the fact that if he pulls it off with all these cliffhangers. I mean, I think I forgot. I don't know if it might have been one of you guys or somebody mentioned, like, you know, that little teaser that we saw of Diana looking at the mural of Darkseid. That could just be an end of an episode right there. Just bam, cliffhanger, just boom.
Oh, that is a cliffhanger, right?
That's
Right there.
cliffhanger, right? Yeah.
It's written, directed by Zack Snyder. You know, just something like bam, right there. It's like, oh, goosebumps. I mean, I'm willing to bet that probably is gonna be it.
Any other chapter?
Because you've got all the comic book fans going, frickin' Darkseid, and you got the general audience going, what the hell was that?
Yeah, what the hell is that? Yeah.
Well, I even think you could probably you're gonna have one cliffhanger with the death of Silas. I mean, right there. I mean, that's,
definitely.
You're like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever is gonna be the catalyst for that event. I mean, it's gonna be emotional. So imagine ending an episode on that kind of an emotional turn, specifically because in Justice League they tried to do the exact opposite. They were like, no, he's alive. He's
right.
And so all of a sudden you leave that hanging over for a fucking week. Like, dude. What else is going to happen?
It's like Game of Thrones. It's like, oh my God, Ned died. Like,
the moment
we're still thinking
Ned died. Yeah, the moment Ned died, I remember my first time watching that, and like, you know, you get to that episode and you're thinking, no, they're not going to kill him. Like, he's the fucking.
It's Sean
character.
Bean. I mean,
yeah, like
he was like the protagonist.
Exactly. Like, why is he? How is he's like the most morally like good person on this fucking show? How could? Nah, he's fine. He's gonna get out of it, right? Right? And they pull out the knife. You're like, no, but he's. I mean, still, right? I mean, maybe. Well, and he's about to swing, and you're like, maybe is he? No, and then, I mean,
done. Yeah,
it's just done. Like, you just holy shit, and it ends. And you don't know what the fuck just happened, but you just know that you just watched the guy you had spent like what fucking 8-7 hours. Yeah. Invested in. That's just dead.
Yeah. Right.
And then all of a sudden, and like what Game of Thrones did, though, in each season, they did that big episode before the last episode so that it was kind of like a precursor, a prologue to the next season, which is what I think Zach plans on doing. That's kind of what, technically, if you look at BVS that way, the way I set it up, it's kind of what happens. I mean, you have 30 minutes basically is worth of BVS, Batman and Superman and Doomsday and the funeral. And then now you have it going into Steppenwolf and going into that, you know, they heard it. They're, you know, coming from the sky, and that's to lead into the next series. You know what I mean? Or the next season.
Season 2.
Yeah.
Anyways, Stephen Colbert has now joined the stream.
Hey,
there he is.
Hey. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Not much. How you doing? Oh, well, I just noticed your background. I wasn't watching before I jumped in.
Yeah.
And
how dare you?
So that's Vegas.
Yeah. You like
that?
Look at all the lights. Yeah. You see that? I'm living large right now. I know. It would have been cool if I could get some cool hotel room on the strip.
How is this not the Wolfpack stream?
I know. It should have made it like that, the Wolfpack, you know. I guess you would have been Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I had time, I was gonna wear a baby carrier and come out with sunglasses, but you know, we don't have time. I did find a way to sneak roofies into all of your drinks, though, so it should be a good one.
Oh wow!
It's gonna be that kind of night, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fortunately, it's all on video, so it won't be too hard to piece back together.
That's very true. Yeah,
edit it back.
I'll just record it. record it out of context and play it against you one of these days.
Yeah.
How that would be so terrible. No one's ever done that to me before. That would surely that would surely destroy my online reputation.
All the great ideas come like
Stripper for the background, Dave.
Oh, maybe it's not too late. I'll get on the.
Just some
Well, I think we have some
on the background, like just dancing. Like, hey, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm trying to do something.
He's got the tiger just like pacing in circles in the background.
So Steven, you joined in right when I was talking about BVS. I mean, what do you
really?
I am. Yeah.
Really?
We're talking about BVS on the vodka stream.
So
you don't say.
By the minute.
Where's that? I got to do the Willy Wonka meme. Like,
yeah, no.
Yeah.
You don't say. So I was just talking about my BVS episodes and how they end and how they kind of lead into the next thing. And looking at Justice League, the way it could have cliffhangers, quote unquote, but without having cliffhangers. Silas dying, that's one. I mean, to see that character die, because if Cyborg's the heart of the film, okay, let's look at it this way. If Cyborg's the heart of the film, and we've already seen him go through the death of his mother, knowing that he basically loses his father somehow to Steppenwolf and the mother box and all that stuff. I mean, that's going to be a big emotional hit.
Oh yeah.
So to kind of leave it there and just let that sink in for the next week. I mean,
yeah, it hits hard.
Yep.
I mean, like, and then, I think I don't know. Was it you, Steven? No, I'm probably not. I don't know.
probably. Well, wait. Let's say find out what it is.
It probably was. I don't know, but I was saying before that little teaser that we saw of Diana looking at the mural of Darkseid. That's obviously that could be a show ending right there.
Exactly.
I don't know.
There's so many things built into like the way it's edited. I think we've said before, like, first of all, it doesn't necessarily have to have a series structure, but if it did, there's a lot of natural places where you could do that. In addition to the fact, like, if he was able to go back and do additional photography in order to turn that into a series, does that mean that, like, would we get a Nightmare episode, for example? Would he change that from a 5-minute sequence? By the way, one of the many like exactly 5-minute sequences in the movie. It's awesome how I don't know, like the tracking shot is 54 seconds long, like it starts to end. And I noticed all these things because of my podcast, Batman v Superman by the minute.
Yeah,
there we go. There's one time.
There will be a minute. Just the tracking shot. I see how this works, Steven.
I'm
no, that's
waiting
exactly
to
how it works.
Yeah,
well, listen to the Omega episodes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're gonna have our guest for the tracking shot episode too. But like he could expand that out by how many more minutes and what else would he include in that, and so that's what's really exciting is not only are you giving people like an idea of how that could be sort of edited with existing footage, but then what could he do with additional footage to make that even more? That's so exciting.
Well, and when you say edited, do you mean like sequenced? Because I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed the same kind of framing that he did in that Justice League title. And I feel like I got attacked. A little bit. Noticing something.
And what now?
Oh, well, I happen to notice that the way that framing looked with Diana and the mural, and Diana and then the mural again. Like I noticed something, and it was odd. I was like, oh, you know what? I think this is the first time I've seen something from Justice League that reminds me of a situation in BVS.
No, exactly. That's what's like.
I mean, I was just.
I think I commented on your post about that.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
I love how
when you were attacked.
I was fucking stunned because I was like, holy! Like I'm seeing something in Justice League that I can relate to BVS.
Yeah.
Because I know the fact that BVS is shot the way it was shot. That was an intentional thing for him to be looking up at that suit.
In the same way that you could do with BVS and Man of Steel.
Correct. And then to go, holy shit! Like for instance, like Doomsday. He stabs him with his right hand, and if you look at Jor-El, he stabs him with his right. He gets stabbed by Zod's right hand. Yeah. So kind of the same little ties. I'm not saying that he did that full on fucking. I'm copying the exact same thing, but no, I mean that scene. If you looked at that scene, you'll notice everybody was like, "Yeah, it's just reverse shot and reverse." I'm like, "Yeah, they look identical, don't they, fuckers?" I'm not asking about technique. Like I'm not
Garza,
saying
you do know that
whatever-
was just shot with a camera, right?
yeah.
Like they pointed a camera at someone and they recorded at it. Like Snyder did not invent that. I don't know why you're
I
so
know. And
impressed.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
Snyder
but-
invented cinematography.
and I'm
This
like,
jackass just realized about reverse
this
shit.
is the first time I've ever seen Justice League to where I went, this reminds me exactly like BVS, only this is more
And I think
intense.
that's what I commented on. You posted about that, and I either commented on it or quote tweeted and just said, I'm so excited for the fact that we get to talk about this movie in this way
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Because think about the way that we've been talking, all of the looking closer and digging that has been done in the Justice League over the years, the close examination has all been stuff that turns up like jokes. Like, oh, look, I just found another joke. Like today I noticed
The scarf thing.
the scarf thing.
Oh,
That had never occurred to me before. And I was looking at it, I was like, why does she just randomly have a scarf on? And I was like, oh, duh. Godot was not on set for most of the reshoots, or at least not at the same time as the other actors. So they would just shoot with a body double and then insert her face after the fact, or replace altogether. But so if they put the scarf on there, then that prevents them from having a mustache situation where like you can hide where the body double meets the new head. And maybe that's not exactly the reason, but that's the type of thing that you would do if you want to hide the visual effects.
Because obviously the stand-in is going to have a different kind of body as Gal Gadot.
Exactly. Or you got to match skin tone, or you're going to have like motion of like the seam of where the like. There's all sorts of factors there, and so that.
And
we don't see that at the end.
Mustache gate with Godot's cleavage. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
but you see that at the end with Superman in the final battle, where you can tell that that's all like pieced together.
And his hands are like
his hands, all of
weird.
it.
Yeah.
So after
Sloppy.
2.5 years of talking about this movie that way, it's so nice to have moving pictures of the new version and be like, oh, hey, look, this is like a layered meta reference to a similar shot in BVS. And there's nothing, or I shouldn't say nothing, but almost nothing like that in the theatrical cut. Anything that is, it's still not pure, and it's frustrating.
Well, no, dude, I listen. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, my daughter is like on a BVS fucking streak. I cannot have her over without her going, "Hey, let's watch BVS." I'm like, dude, we gotta watch some other. And so, like, I've watched BVS so many times lately. Believe me, if there was a shot like that in Justice League, as of right now, I would probably notice it. Like, I just watched Justice League, and believe me, if I would have noticed something that was kind of very similar to where, like, you know, just anything, believe me, I'd have been like, "Hey, dude, that looks different." But no, Justice League, it even with Zach's footage, feels like a different film to BVS.
Oh,
so that's why
the
I
thing
saw
is
this.
that
No, it is. Yeah.
when you go back and look at the movie, the more I think, because once again, I've not seen this movie since November 17th of 2017.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh no, I refuse to.
yeah.
No, but the more I think about it, like as that nightmare plays in my head, it's just amazing as things have been pointed out, or I think about it, and in some of the stuff that we've all looked at, it's like, wow, that was just a poorly slapped together. Like you just realize how much is not Zach in that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, no, and that's the thing though. I looked at it about 19 minutes. I want to say like 19 fucking minutes is I would say untouched Zach footage. About I think I came up with the numbers. It was 19 minutes and about 40 minutes of like his stuff, but was touched. That means, I mean, we really haven't seen anything from his film, and that's why I'm saying it looks fucking different because even you think about like what's truly Zack Snyder's film. I mean, the only thing I could say that's in there is the Amazon stuff, and I feel like that was cut up.
Well, and then
that was cut up. You could tell.
The flash sequence with the sword, I would say.
The flash sequence, but again, that was cut up.
Yeah.
Well, and then even then you got music is not the same.
Oh right, because you got that Elfman.
That beautiful Elfman score with the happy violins.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. So like everything that's in that film is action from Zach. There's nothing serious, and that's why when that shot of Wonder Woman, I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, that looks so fucking familiar, and I'm like, wait, Now, I know why.
Because they basically replaced every dialogue scene.
Correct. And I'm going, and in my head, I'm looking at it going, that's what I want. Like, when you think about it, what do people always say? Oh, Zach's always, he's always got action, but he can't tell stories. I'm like, that right there, Bruce looking at his fucking suit, that he may not be saying anything, but he's conveying something.
That's
right?
a powerful scene.
Yeah,
exactly. And we all understand it. So that
and then the fact that right after that he walks over and looks at the Robin suit. So powerful.
Yeah.
He looks at it, he like
right.
At it like,
yes.
Right. There's a story right there.
There's so much that's going on with that. He's looking at this, the demon that he created, kind of thing, and then he's just staring at it, and then he looks over at the reminder of,
And then what does he do? He takes a shower, and he takes a shower, and he's looking back again because he's like, "Fuck, man, I need that fucking suit."
Yeah.
Well, and remember, and this is following the conversation he has with Alfred, where Alfred's like, the bat didn't get the information. Bruce, Bruce.
Yeah.
And it's like, because remember, he talks to Alfred as if I need the suit tonight.
Right.
Almost, and that scene has always been interesting to me because it's like he's asking permission from Alfred
like it
to get the suit.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta remember, he's also he serves him something as well. Like that's the first
coffee. Yeah, he hands him the coffee.
Yeah. So the fact that he does that, and this is the second time that we are now hearing Alfred go, okay, the bat's obviously not successful, because when he asked him, so tonight was productive, and he's like, no, too level. He's like, dude, you've interrogated 6 people and you haven't come up with anything.
Yeah,
come on, dude.
Yeah,
like you're obviously, whatever you're doing as Batman isn't fucking working, Bruce.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
and
you got it from KGBs. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
And the other thing about that scene also.
What? Which one?
Well, the one with the costume. As I elaborated on at length on my podcast, Batman v Superman by the minute. I plugged Dave on the most recent episode, so we're evening up a little bit.
That's the money. That's the money factor right there.
Yeah, no, but that the thing about that shot, and once again, if anyone that follows you on Twitter hears me say this, they're gonna be like, Zach didn't invent the push in. But the way the camera pushes in, like the cinematography, what that implies is like you're looking deeper, or you're sort of bearing into like it's introspective. It's a very introspective shot. And so what's fascinating about it is it's not just the reverse shot, but it's pushing into Bruce. And so there's an introspection going on there, and Bruce is looking at the suit, and there's something in his head going on that we're watching happen. And Affleck's acting in that scene is phenomenal. It's just he's doing nothing. He's just staring. But then you get the reverse shot of the bat suit, and it's staring back at him. And it's the push in still. So you're getting the internalization from the bat suit. And so it's very much like you stare into the abyss, and the abyss stares back. There's no eye. It's just empty eye. Yeah. It's a soulless, it's a creature. It's the bat creature, the demon from the tomb is haunting him.
And there's almost a scene like that in Dark Knight Returns where he's like looking at the costume, like after he got his ass kicked by like the mutant leader or something. There's a scene like that in the cave where he's staring out into that void.
Well, and then on the most recent episode of my podcast, Batman v Superman by the Minute, with Andrew Dice, we just started the nightmare sequence, and when he comes out of the cave and it shows the close-up, he pulls down the goggles, you can't see his eyes. Like the shadow is so dark, he's just got black pits where his eyes go. And it reminds me, I didn't mention this on the episode, but now that we're talking about it, it reminds me very much of him staring at the suit. And I think there's it's communicating, and this is something that Dice mentioned on our podcast, Batman v Superman by the Minute. He mentioned that it sort of symbolizes that like Bruce is kind of gone. Like they are now the same being. He is now Batman. He is not Bruce Wayne. Right. Yeah. Part-time in Batman. He doesn't have to ask Alfred permission to borrow the suit anymore. He's just in the nightmare. He is just Batman. He probably never takes that cowl off, except when Superman rips it off. Right.
Well, dude, just how badass is Zach to go, you know what? In this scene, you're not gonna have a cape, dude. You're just gonna have a full-on fucking trench coat.
Yeah.
Like regardless of whatever it is, like dude, we've never
Gordon, like a Gordon.
I know, I've heard that. I've heard that theory, but dude, I mean, think of that. Like, that's how ballsy Zach was. He was like, you know what? I know the cape and cow's all iconic, but I'm going to give you a trench coat. That'll be your cape.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Comic creators are like, dude, I got to add that in my comic.
Love that.
Fucking
Yeah.
That's,
oh man,
that's
look at
how-
the Rebirth era. They like ate that up in like Tom
Mhm.
King's run.
Oh,
They
yeah, Tom
loved
King's right
draw. Yeah, because there was a whole they before the wedding. There was a whole section where they put him eat full on Nightmare
Mhm.
outfit.
And that's
It
the
looks
thing, though.
great.
That's the
Lot of
other thing
respect.
that you don't realize Zach is really capable of. I mean, he really stupid. He really influences a lot of creators. I mean, just because he's that deep into comics, he's like, I know what would look cool in a comic.
Yeah.
Will look cool in a film.
Well, and that's what Jim Lee has complimented him for in the past too. And it, like before any of this drama, I mean, there's always drama, but before the like Zach is like before the Justice League drama started, Jim Lee was like, Zach gets these characters. Zach knows the DC iconography. The exact quote is better than I could say, but yeah, and he really compliments to that point where Zach does something in DC and it becomes common.
And you know what's funny about all this is that we've been talking, I think, about 10 minutes into this scene that has no words and no dialogue. It's just visuals and it has music. And we're watching Bruce staring at this thing, and we know that we can convey that he's pretty fucked up right now because he's staring at the suit going, I fucking need it and I want it and I can't.
Yeah.
So reverse that to fucking Diana. When we see that exact same kind of shot, that's all it is. It's literally almost the same shot. And what happens today? I don't know who did it, but somebody put the frames up and put the
I saw that.
That was interesting.
But
and you're like,
Mr. Ben Everett is doing that.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Ben.
What's going on, Scott? What's going on, Chris?
How's it?
Steven, and the other guy there.
The other guy there. But what were you saying, Garth? The fact that somebody matched that up, it was just like that was pretty damn beautiful.
Well, not only that, it's kind of weird though, because if you look at that Batman shot, the fact that he made him kind of line up that way with Diana, dude, that's fucking big. Like, we're looking at Diana be fucking scared. Like, that's all I see. The fucking terror in her eyes.
Yeah, she's trembling a little bit, just a little.
Like, and what's crazy about it? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that she's gonna have some kind of flashback, maybe. I don't fucking know, but there's no way that she could be looking at that image and be that scared.
Maybe
something
like a flashback to
it could be her boogeyman, right?
I think we talked about this last week, but
like it could be like when she was younger, like you know what I mean, like a flashback when she was a kid on Themyscira.
Yeah, well, and that's what like that's like what Hippolyta or any of the other Amazons who were there might have who fought him, who were at that battle, would have told her about is
well, Antiope was there. We know that.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a flashback where she's being told about.
Well, Connie Nelson said that she had a big action stunt from that scene cut, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
So she did too.
Probably a lot more speaking scenes and everything.
We know that Antiope was completely cut out of the movie because I was looking for more Robin Wright.
No, she was in the movie. That's why you haven't seen it since 2017. Believe me, she was in it.
Very small.
She's the one that jumps off the horse.
Yeah.
She's the one that jumps off the horse and stabs the parademon.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right.
Believe me.
Very small, but
I haven't really watched it.
Thank you guys for falling on that sword for the rest of us.
Thank you. We all don't want to watch
it. Scott, believe me, I've seen it so many times that I can memorize it. Like I can memorize the shitty fucking dialogue.
You poor man.
I know.
No.
Like I said, I watched my edit the other day. I was like, dude, I could barely stand my edit. That's how I was like, God, this fucking film, dude.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But Mr. Ben Everett, man, what's going on? How you doing?
Nothing much. I was laying up on my bed, just watching you guys, and all of a sudden I got the invite. I said, "Oops, you know what?
You should have just broadcast from your bed too, like Garza. Would have been cute."
Yeah. No, I'm a professional.
No, I just figured. I was like, hey, if you wanted to join, join.
Oh God. What do you say, Dave?
I was just like, yeah, I figured if you wanted to join, just join. So I sent you the link.
Yeah, I was when I saw that, I was like, let me get up because I was watching anyway, so I might as well join in the fun.
So I guess we could talk. Let's really let's dive deep into this Batverse that might be actually blooming here, if anything is true. Obviously, a lot of us, when we heard about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, I think we all probably, we're pretty excited about it. What do you guys think? Scott,
can I just say one thing?
Scott's kind of showing me a different face here. What do you? Let's hear Scott first, because I know. I don't think you're a fan of the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern part.
No. Actually, I don't have a problem. I was pointing the wrong direction. I said it on Chris's show that I saw the movie. Talking about Green Lantern, I saw the movie and I was just like, it's fine. And and like I said,
coffee when the whole theater was on fire. It's fine.
It's fine. But I told fine. what I said on Chris's show on Tuesday night was I put Green Lantern in that category like I put the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, where the movie's fine and Reynolds wasn't the problem.
Oh, not.
So it's like I look at the Daredevil and go, Affleck wasn't the problem, and the director's cut of Daredevil is a far superior movie than the theatrical. The same way I feel like the 10 minutes of the extended cut and the different editing helps the Green Lantern movie. Now, I haven't seen it in a while, so the Reynolds casting is like, why not? He got a do-over with Deadpool. Let's see him get a do-over with Hal Jordan. The man loves his do-overs. Why not?
Yeah. So what about the Keaton stuff? Well,
Keaton stuff? I mean, dude, I was 7 when Batman 89 came out. Like that is just so. When my dad took me to see that movie, I will drink up any kind of nostalgia that I'm going to get from seeing Keaton again. Also said watch Chris's live stream from Tuesday night.
They all have already watched it.
I mean, come on. But
I did watch yours.
But
please, everybody plug their own things a bunch of times so that I can.
I'm plugging someone else's thing. This is the thing.
But you were on it. I'm just trying to. I'm just making sure there's some equity here.
What's the name of your podcast, by the way, Steven?
Huh?
What's your podcast name?
Is this a freebie? Actually, yeah. That's thank you for letting me know, Garza. Justice League by the Minute is officially available in iTunes. So we published it as a bonus episode on our BVS by the Minute. But if you search Justice League by the Minute, you can find episode 0.
Oh, finally, because I've been trying, Steve.
In iTunes,
keeping me waiting.
Go ahead and subscribe to that. So first, we just it's episode 0, but we're not going to do a ton, but we'll probably do just like for each trailer, we'll do a quick breakdown or something. But it'll really start once the actual thing is released.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when on our network on patreon.com/Squawkcast Media. There we go. I'm gonna throw in my plugs now. On the pay to play, when we review every when we review every comic book movie, the one time we had all 6 hosts from the network on one recording was our review of Batman 89. And that thing ended up being like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours of us.
Come on.
Oh, I mean, Tim tries
on the Vodka stream, Film Junkee, the Film Junkee.
Is that how it works? But no, so I love the movie. So the idea that we could get and once again, I've seen all the excitement. I've seen all the criticism when it comes to this Michael Keaton thing. The point is, if you read the articles closely enough, it's early talks. We have no idea what the actual extent of the appearance is going to be. People are talking way too definitively as if they know exactly how this is going to break down. And I call bullshit on that. It's like, no, we don't know. You read the articles. The only thing that's being reported as objective fact is early talks for an appearance as an older version of his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I hate when I see articles even pulled up by Google or something like that from CBR or where the hell they go Michael Keaton is Batman in the Flash movie. It just says is. Like it's confirmed and everything. It's like, no, nothing's confirmed. It's just thrown out there. I mean, obviously we all are kind of doing our due diligence and trying to talk to whoever we can to be like, hey, what's going on with this? And yeah, it's all up in the air. It's all in talks. And the whole thing back and forth of like, I even had like debates with people on my timeline that think like, oh no, he's playing Thomas Wayne, and I'm like, that just wouldn't work.
No.
It wouldn't work as Thomas.
It would
only
defeat
Grace
the
is saying
purpose
that,
of
right?
bringing him in.
It would totally.
The
That would be
purpose
like-
of bringing him in is to play an older version
Yeah.
of the Burtonverse Batman, which works if you, as you jokingly try to explain, talking to your father about the multiverse, and this guy dragging me into a Twitter thread that lasted a lot longer than it should have.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a trick?
Yeah,
Can I tell you a trick, Scott?
Go
here's
ahead,
my-
Steven.
Don't
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah.
Don't
I
respond.
can't. I can't.
Mute the conversation.
No, but when the man actually says Scott would be the better person to explain this,
I know.
and I
He's
just
gonna
have
go for
to.
it. Just go
I
for
have.
it. Yeah.
It's like, oh, let me come down here to the man cave and pull up the 3 hardcovers that are going to answer everyone's questions.
Yeah.
And
No,
he knows how to.
I
He
think-
knows. He knows how
think
to play
that,
me, and he played me like a fiddle.
Yeah.
But-
I think with this whole Michael Keaton news, I think it's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna pull my best Chris Wong here. Okay, and I'm gonna use my tinfoil to
Speculation.
do this.
He's putting
Because
it.
because here's the thing, right? No.
Wait, are you
nobody's-
plugging my channel now? That's weird.
Chris Wong, as found on
King
on
Kong
King Kong Flicks on
Yeah,
Twitter.
I'm not-
On YouTube.
So we got to think about it this way, right? The trades, what did they all do? They all started reporting that Michael Keaton was in talks or something about that, right? No confirmation, nothing about it at all. They just said he's in talks. Now let's think about the 2 events that took place before that. Literally right back to back, right? Was Jeffrey Dean Morgan was rumored to be in the Flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a property, or that would have been linked to Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? Which is technically HBO Max coverage. That's what everybody was talking about, right? Because if everybody was going to talk about that Flash, that means that Flash is going to be more or less connected to Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay, well, he might have been in talks, but did he sign up? No, maybe not. Who knows? But then right after that, Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds is starting to get talked about, right? The trades didn't even talk about that. If he was in talks or if something was coming out, why didn't they talk about that? Or why didn't they reach out to find out why that wasn't getting talked about? But both of those events would be steering people to Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is HBO Max. Well, what do we also know about Warner Brothers? They kind of feel a little beat up, don't they? They're kind of going, why is HBO Max getting all the love? Why are they doing all this good stuff? And why do they keep getting talked about? You know what? What if we just go ahead and let some news slip about one of our WB films so that people can kind of figure out a little bit more about what we have going on in theaters? Because, I mean, everybody's been talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League since May. I mean, what Wonder Woman just got pushed back. So they don't have shit to talk about as far as the film side is concerned.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to have some kind of news.
It's interesting too because I mean, even Sean O'Connell said he talked to Andy Muschietti when they at the Birds of Prey. Well, I think he said London or something like that, and he asked, like, is Jeffrey Dean Morgan going to be the Flashpoint Batman? And he goes, "Oh, we got another idea." So it's like, was he?
Yeah, but that was
to the Keaton thing.
Right.
I mean, I still want to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the Flashpoint Batman, 100%. I'm all about that, and I hope we get to see both. And it just seems like it might be both up in the air. I don't know. I just
here's what I was thinking, and I talked to Ben about this on our Real in Motion podcast that we have every week.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect plug.
But I did truly say this, I want Thomas Wayne and Jeffrey Dean Morgan to be there, but at the same time, like, knowing that all of the characters that are the main focused on that Flashpoint story, if they were going to utilize that actual story, they're all cast by Zack Snyder. I don't know if they're not going to go full on fucking Justice League, Flashpoint Paradox version, then maybe let Zack do something of that nature, because he cast all those main characters rather than have somebody that I don't know if he can handle all of those characters all in the same time on screen. And if he's not going to go that route of full fucking Flashpoint Paradox, then I don't want him in that movie. You know what I mean? Like, if they're
but he cast a lot of people from the Aquaman movie. He cast everybody from Wonder Woman movie, and those two directors did a good job. So
yeah,
who's there to say that Andy's not going to be able to do a good job too?
Right. And I don't mean it that way. I just mean with all of them. Like Patty Jenkins didn't do Justice League, did she?
Yeah.
She didn't come in and step up, did she?
No.
No. I
But
mean,
James
all
Wan,
these directors, they know how it takes. They know what it
yeah,
takes.
but James Wan did an amazing job with a big story, and that movie was a spectacle. And that it had Orm, it had Black.
I get that, but I'm talking about the comic accuracy is what I mean, like the storylines of Flashpoint. That's what I mean.
Right.
I don't mean that.
Well, like I say in the Real Emotion podcast.
This is my favorite new trend.
Yes, I know.
Like I said, I'm gonna call the plug.
You know, all these directors, they're gonna take cues from this comic book runs. They're not gonna do beat by beat. So
I know, but Flashpoint Paradox is so fucking good beat by beat. That's the thing.
It is.
Fuck.
Well, I mean,
dude, to see Aquaman and Wonder Woman fight and Mira, I mean, all these people that are principal actors or principal cast in that storyline, they're all fucking there. I mean, they're literally all there. You look at
what's to say? I mean, what's to say that if Justice League successful, if Zack Snyder wants to continue, if they're letting him continue, and he had like a great idea years from now and says, you know what? Why don't I do a Flashpoint on HBO Max?
God, that'd be awesome.
Well, remember, he
did say that he had a better idea. Somebody asked him on Barrow, and he said, "Oh, well, no, it's actually better." So he said the same thing that Andy said. Is Andy doing what Zack Snyder had in mind? We don't even know.
I think it's also important to differentiate there's a big thing that I don't think has been mentioned yet about the Michael Keaton inclusion that sort of changes the way this all works. And that's that we don't want to consider this a sequel or spin-off of Zack Snyder's universe necessarily. Where like it's connected, but like this is not this is what the Michael Keaton casting means. People look at it as like sort of subverting what Zach was doing, or maybe that like, okay, they're going to do that instead of Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like we're having this conversation now, but what putting Michael Keaton in there actually does is it frees every other director involved in any other of the little sandboxes that are the DCEU. And so this doesn't necessarily mean that it's overriding the Thomas Wayne Batman or Jeffrey Dean Morgan or any of that. But what it does mean is that we don't need to force this into a parallel or inline continuity with what Zack Snyder has done. And the reason that's significant is not because like the DCU continuity is being taken away from him. It's because finally what he wanted from the beginning, to have his own self-contained 5-part story that's not beholden to what everyone else wants to do with their movie, can now happen because Michael Keaton. They bring in Michael Keaton, and now all of a sudden you've got this multiverse that takes place. And so now Zack's universe is one of the Zack Snyder's Justice League. His name is on it. That is labeling what universe it is. It doesn't say Zack Snyder's Wonder Woman. It doesn't say Zack Snyder's Flashpoint. It's Zack Snyder's Justice League. And that's his own sandbox to do his own 5-part story in. Now it is a multiverse, and Flash has the ability to jump between multiverses, so it's all related. But this gives Zack more freedom than he ever had, because he doesn't have to include Michael Keaton as his Batman now.
And not only that, it will give other directors to come to the studio and say, "Listen, I want to be part of. I want to direct this movie." But I said this in the podcast, so I'm repeating myself.
Which podcast was it again, Ben?
That's Real Emotion.
Okay.
Real Emotion. The last episode. Anyway, so any director can go to the studio and say, "Listen, I have this idea for this character, and I want this movie to adhere to what Zack Snyder is doing." And they will let him know, or her, go and do that movie and get with Zack's people. And if you want to do your standalone, your own little 3-parter with no connection whatsoever, then you can do it too, because there's still part of that universe, sort of part of that universe. So like Matt Reeves right now is doing his 3-movie deal, and those movies do not connect with anything else. But what is it to say that there's going to be a point where that flashpoint sort of give you a glimpse that this is connected to a larger, all these different universes. Now, I'm not gonna say that like they're gonna overlap one with the other, but it just frees up. It frees Warner Brothers from doing things that what they're doing, and HBO Max to do whatever they're doing. And not only that, Steven and I mentioned something about this, that they don't have to do the one movie at a time anymore. Because before you had to do this character, do 3 movies or 1 or 2 movies, and then move on to the next character. You have a plethora of characters sitting around. You use them, whether it's in Warner Brothers or HBO Max.
Well, think about like the idea of a Kingdom Come movie in the DCEU, and think about what would be necessary in order to make that happen, right? So you've got 3 years ago, if we were to talk about Kingdom Come in the DCEU, you'd be like, damn, well, no, everyone's got to get older. Like, you can't do it with these younger versions of the characters.
No, it's awesome.
You've got to establish, Flash has to grow up. You've got to do, or not Flash, Shazam has to grow up. You've got to do all these different things in order to kind of get the universe to the place where it's ready for Kingdom Come.
If you're using those actors.
Right, exactly. But now, why not just do like a Michael Keaton, Linda Carter, like, you just grab all these actors from all over the place. And like, hey, there's your Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Well, and I think another thing that I've seen a lot of, and I think it comes from people using the MCU as their gold standard, as in this is the way it's done, because so many moviegoers have been trained in this. All these movies exist in the exact same linear universe.
Yeah. That's what I've been saying, like on Film Junkie Live, Scott. It's like a branch with things.
Right. and the argument
for the whole treat.
And the argument that I made for, because I've seen people say, "Oh, multiverses are stupid," or like this is so messy, and I'm like, but the beauty of the multiverse, when people talk about what's canon, is, well, the beauty of multiverse is it's all canon because it's all happening simultaneously at the same time on a different Earth. Right. And so you can have Warner Brothers theatrically doing their thing. I love the point that Ben made. I really can't point to the right thing. It's literally my left is my right. Yeah. But, it's the idea that it really, if you want to talk about trying to get Warner Brothers back to an actual filmmaker-driven vision, you have to give them the freedom to do whatever the hell they want. Well, now Matt Reeves can go off and make whatever Batman movies he wants to make because it doesn't have to be connected to anything else, which also means that for those of us who love Zack Snyder films, they love the universe that Zack Snyder was building, we should be... in my opinion, we should be celebrating this because this should mean that Zach can be on HBO Max doing whatever the hell he wants and no one getting in his way because it's not going to screw with anybody else if HBO Max is technically its own Earth.
And his Batman can kill and his Superman can be mopey. And his Lois Lane can get killed, and all of these things that freaked everybody out. It can be scary, like all
the
of
color palette.
Like it's literally, it's an Elseworld story now, and they can treat it like an Elseworld story.
Well, and now we can get people to understand that movies were always Elseworlds to begin with. That look at the MCU, they took the Ultimate Universe and the 616 universe and just kind of picked and chose what they wanted and created technically their own Earth for the Marvel characters to exist on, because heaven forbid people should ever point out how comic inaccurate so many of those characters in the MCU are. And yet when DC does it, it's like blasphemy and heresy.
I'm the first Marvel fan. I've read some Marvel, definitely. But even I, as anyone who has read Marvel can say, look at the MCU and look at how many stories aren't told because of that format. Like they've done some really cool stuff with it, but what about the
Civil War?
The actual
the biggest one,
right? Civil War. But like think about like the actual
and the Iron Man
in a bottle story, or the actual Extremis story, or or any of that stuff.
The Creed.
And what happens? God. And what happens when you tell the story?
Like, you're like,
this is our and you're like, this is our Iron Man trilogy: Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and Iron Man 3. And you cover Demon in a Bottle, and you cover Extremis. But and so now, what if someone comes along and they're like, you know what? There's a really cool character study with Tony Stark, where you do like the Demon in a Bottle, the actual Demon in a Bottle story, and you make
actual alcoholism,
this gritty character story. Like I keep on talking about Lee Wannell because I was just talking about him for Batman Beyond on my Twitter account at SM Colbert earlier today. But
we can read it, Steven. Right there.
And but he'd be great for something like that. But you can't do that. Someone's gonna go to Marvel and be like, if I could recast Tony and we'll just make it not like something like it did with Joker, like DC did with Joker. Marvel could never do that, and as a result, every Iron Man story that they could possibly tell, which the comics have always told conflicting stories and different continuities at the same time, right? Yeah. But someone goes to the MCU, to Kevin Feige, and is like, I want to take, I don't know, whatever actor and Lee Wannell and tell a one-off Iron Man story about his dependent, or I don't know, whatever you want to tell. That's this darker R-rated, whatever. No, not going to happen. A, we're not going to do R-rated. B, doesn't fit in our continuity. And we own the IP. Not going to happen. Warner Brothers, hey, Todd. Like, there are 3 people specifically that I think breathed a sigh of relief or jumped up and cheered at the confirmation or the announcement or whatever, the potential of Michael Keaton Batman. Yeah. And that is Zack Snyder, Matt Reeves, and maybe Todd Phillips. We're like, yes, this sets up the universe so that we can do what we want. Matt Reeves no longer has to worry about all this stupid, like, they're going to bring in Robert Pattinson via Flashpoint into the modern DC. Matt Reeves doesn't want that. Think about how much that would handcuff him to all of a sudden have to retroactively fit in all of the other DC canon. And not only that, it would probably be the theatrical cut canon from Justice League that he would be forced to match, since it's separate from. So like, there's so much mess there that like DC is like pressuring him to put in. But now he's like, no, look, there is a Reeves verse, there's a Snyder verse, there's a Phillips verse, and
you think this would come from one person?
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Chris.
No, you think this would you think this would calm down people for saying like, I don't want Robert Pattinson's Batman. I'd rather have Ben Affleck's Batman. You got all the choices. I always put food into this, but it's like going into a cake store
and that was the thing,
finding all the different flavors. You can pick what you want and ignore the other ones. Like Scott's little article that I pulled out about you talking about books.
That cake, Chris?
Right. Well, thank you for pointing out that article. But the idea is that you don't have to like it all. And the parts that you don't like, you can ignore. It's like the books. This is the quote he was pulling from the article. The books you don't like, you just don't buy them and you just don't read them.
What? That's not possible. God, I've never.
I spent time trashing it. Like, if you're gonna get Ben Affleck's Batman in Zack Snyder's shoes, it didn't go away. Michael Keaton's involvement or wherever, it didn't go away. It's still coming.
Well, the thing I'm curious about, like, we're all almost the same age except for Ben, but when we. And I
knew it was coming.
But he looks younger than all of us, so I wouldn't throw stones.
I respect my elders. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But when Burton did his 2 Batman films, and in '95 they released Batman Forever, I remember when I went to go see it, I wasn't like, why is there a different Batman? Is this another world? What's going on? I was just like, no, it's just Batman. Like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just watching it. And even in that movie, I watched it recently last week, and he makes a reference to fucking Penguin and Selena Kyle. I'm pretty sure with what's her name, Nicole Kidman's character,
Dr. Chase Meridian. She references, "Do I don't need leather and a whip?" Yeah, she says that.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, by the third,
okay, so is that considered canon as far as is that Burton's? You know what I mean? Like, is that
not really?
Is that Michael Keaton's world?
No,
exactly.
No. By the third movie, like, it felt like it was like the natural thing to do, to just change Batman every other year.
It's James
Yeah.
Bond. I mean, that's
yes.
That's why
that's what's so funny is like you look at
like
at like Bond fans.
Yeah.
There's like no continuity.
No.
Like there's no continuity, but there's no continuity like debate or argument like within the fandom.
No.
Like there's no like demand over like what like I know there's theories about how they could connect or there's but like there's
just
no
about, though. There's nobody going, hey, I need my fucking Sean Connery back.
Hey,
back,
yeah.
okay?
or nobody being like, how dare you reference a
Roger
Moore movie in a Daniel Craig movie? Like that's not my canon. Like no, that's just like, it's all.
Well, I mean, they even do it. I mean, in The Spy Who Loved Me, they reference him being married, which happened in the George Lazenby movie.
Right.
I mean, they just
but it doesn't match up though, because you've got M from the '90s GoldenEye, who was then M when he becomes an agent in Casino Royale, but then she died before he would have been as old as he was in GoldenEye. So
it's Bond multiverse. They borrow element.
It really is.
Like I wish I could see like somebody like what's the name from Doom Patrol?
That doesn't work. Sorry.
From
where?
Timothy Dalton.
Timothy. Yeah, because I always thought like, why can't they use these old actors just like a Easter egg and just throwaway character just to have him in there? I just found that weird, and they never even attempted to do that.
Or like, what'd be really cool is I don't know how this is received by more hardcore fans than I am, but there's always the like 007 and James Bond is a code name.
Yeah.
So it's not actually the same James. It's all different Jameses, but they all share a lineage via the code name.
New James
So
Bond.
what if Sean Connery were to mentor like a new
Skyfall? They actually have the tombstones of his parents and said Bond on it. So that's kind of like
because they treat Daniel. Sorry, I am the Bond fan. So the Daniel Craig movies were
me too.
You and John.
Hey guys, if you have James Bond questions, you can ask them to Scott on Twitter at ScottDC27.
Sir John Aaron.
Because the Daniel Craig was the first time they, honest to goodness, decided we're going to do a complete reboot, and the movies actually have like a tight
continuity
between them.
They did.
They definitely line up. They line up, but what was I going to say? Damn, I totally. Now go ahead. Who was going to say
about Batman Forever?
Huh?
It's about Batman Forever.
About Batman Forever. Oh, when it comes to but yeah, see, I'm with you on that too. It's like even though it wasn't Keaton, I still like just saw it as another Batman movie. It didn't even feel like a Burton movie either. You know, it didn't feel like in that vein of what Burton was trying to do. Even though there is a whole other version of Batman Forever called not the Schumacher cut, but it's called the Red Book edition. That I would definitely like to see, where he did pay homage to some of the things that Burton set up a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm with you, where it's like when I watch that movie, I don't sit there and go like, oh yeah, he's talking about this, or oh, he's referencing that. I mean, the only thing that the continuity that sticks together is, for some reason, Bruce Wayne wears glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And Goff and Hingle are still playing the same characters.
They're still the same outfit. Still the
same outfit. Yeah.
But that's
what I'm saying. But I watched it as a kid, not going, wait, is this a different Batman? Is this on the same Earth?
Yeah.
I was
what did adult nerds think about that time? Like us during that, because as kids we're like, whatever.
I'll tell you, my dad. It didn't bother my dad at all.
Well, and that's why I've always loved, like in the comics, what Grant Morrison did with Scott. You're gonna have to help me here. Was it the Black Hand? It was when he did the Black Case book.
Oh, the Black Case book that tied in. Well, the Black Case book was the one where they collected all the Silver Age stories. That it was because it tied into Batman and Son, the Black Glove, into Batman R.I.P. Where he pulled in all the, like
Morrison basically said everything is canon. That's where Batmite comes from. That's where Batman of Zur-En-Arrh comes from. You
get Batmite, and you get the Council of Batman that led into Batman Incorporated. Yeah,
and but it all works. Like it's not like it destroys. So it's like all canon, but also it's. It's Grant Morrison, so it's
weird.
Yeah, but
I was
I
gonna
kind of
say,
love that approach.
We
Well,
didn't
Ben-
forget too is that Grant Morrison apparently, I mean, wasn't he like writing Flashpoint with?
Yeah.
I've
Which
always
yeah, but
wondering about that. Like, was that just kind of a
PR
power move to just say, I
Power move.
Well,
to
Oh,
get
yeah, power move for Miller. Yeah,
do you
have
guys
a
want the
power for
inside
Miller
baseball
to
on
get
that?
these directors
yeah,
yeah.
out of the way?
yeah.
What I was
That's
gonna say
fine.
is, if we wanted like an adult version fan of the 95, 97 release, Ben, what
Wow.
what were your thoughts? 'Cause you were like,
Wow.
what? You were 20.
Jeez, this guy.
This
Wow.
guard.
Oh, he's for a podcast. What's that podcast called?
It's I think it's called
It's
the
the
Mr.
Real
Evans
Emotion
podcast
podcast
now.
with Ben Everts, and that's it. Nobody else.
Yeah,
From now on.
great win. Just you and Craig, right? That's it.
Ben and Craig.
For the
Craig, yes.
Grant Morrison.
No, but I don't think.
Oh, go ahead.
But I truly don't think there was any backlash to it. I don't think anybody was like fucking campaigning like, dude, I want fucking Keaton back.
Well, the
Batman. I
MCU
don't
didn't
want
exist
Val
yet.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's what
then,
I'm saying, like,
There was
even-
backlash when he came on board. I remember the news
Mhm.
that a lot of people didn't like the Mr. Mom playing the.
You got
the
your
Dark Knight.
Well,
you
no,
walked
no,
out to
yeah,
your
that's what
newspaper in the
Keaton- I'm talking
morning
about-
and your slippers and your
in his bathrobe.
in your bathrobe, and you came
I'm
back
talking-
in
I'm
and you
talking
told
about
the kids to
whenever-
shut up, and then you
Yeah.
poured your coffee and you told the missus, "Oh man, there's drama over Michael Keaton being cast as Batman on in the physical
You're on the
newspaper,
tube.
honey."
That's
No, it
exactly
was
how it happened.
Starlog. That's where you saw it. It was Starlog magazine that you were gonna.
Starlog.
No, but I mean,
This dude.
another thing.
But I was talking about with Val Kilmer and George Clooney. Like
Yeah.
when they both got casted, nobody was sitting there going, "I want Val Kilmer back."
No,
You know why?
It wasn't social
George
media,
Clooney
like
wasn't
there wasn't social media back then like it is now. So if you had that kind of conversation, it was when you went to the comic books and you had a conversation with a friend who heard about the news, or even the guy selling the comic books. That's who I usually talk to. And I remember having a heated conversation about Val Kilmer being hired. I was like, I like him. He was like, oh no, he looks like
he was an excellent Bruce Wayne. Overall, I dug Val Kilmer, but I thought his Bruce Wayne was better than Batman.
oh yes, absolutely. There was a couple of shots where when he was Batman that was like, okay,
I thought it looked great.
yeah, but then there's some others I'm like, oh, just French.
No, but I mean, another thing about Batman Forever is like, I mean, in that movie, there's literally a Superman Easter egg, or not an Easter egg, but
He
line.
references Metropolis.
Everybody,
Yeah.
freaked out. Everybody freaked out when he used all out circus halfway to Metropolis. Everybody was like, "Oh, what?"
Serious.
Well,
Yeah.
they mentioned that they do another one. They do another one in Batman and Robin.
This is why Superman works alone.
Yeah.
That's why Superman works. Yeah.
That was
That was like-
right off the bat. Like that was just.
I know.
I like the
Right.
Batman Forever one
Yeah.
a lot better because the first the in Batman and Robin, it's just like 100% scoop. Like they have a shovel just going into your face with like and it's just like boom, we just got you right there. But
I
Batman
forget,
Forever
was-
was an
was that
Easter
around the
egg.
same
It was
time when they were
subtle.
Was that around the same time when they were trying to do the Batman v Superman movie? Because they've been trying to do that movie for
that was-
Nick
that
Cage
No, that was the same
Superman
time as
first.
Superman Lives. That
Yeah.
was
Oh,
that was the
Cage
same
one.
time there.
And I think that would have happened, like that kind of conflicted with the Nolan movies.
yeah.
Is the thing
Yeah.
that I always remember about that. I don't know if they wanted
Which is-
Christian Bale
Yeah.
or
which is weird because I remember I forgot who, I don't know who it was. I think it was it David Goyer that was like, he had a quote that he used, I think like in 2008 or something, or it was sometime like in the last decade, where he was talking about, you don't do versus movies unless it's really bad. Like
No, that
Alien
was that
versus
was
Predator.
Goyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't do Alien versus Predator, and you don't do Jason versus Freddy. And I remember hearing that quote going, dude, you just literally are involved with a movie called Batman v
versus
Superman.
Superman.
And,
Well-
and I remember thinking about that. And that's,
Goyer says a
I
lot
think
of
that's-
things.
I know,
Yeah.
but that's probably the reason why Zach was like, I get that this is Batman versus Superman, but I'm going to make this more of an ideology, battle. So let's go ahead and remove that S and make it look like it's a court, fight, whatever.
Because it was almost a court of public opinion in that movie.
Yeah.
That's along with the Congress. So
yeah, because nobody's. I mean, name another movie that has that. Like even Kramer versus Kramer, right? I mean, it's Kramer versus Kramer, not Kramer v. Kramer, and isn't that a fucking a court?
It's a divorce case. Yeah.
So it's like
this was Batman and Superman are being
From the
judged.
80s, by the way.
They're judging each other and
Yeah.
being judged.
I was born in the 80s, man. But my point though is like Zach was the one that went, I'm not going to have it say verse, because you're right that you don't want to include it in that, because then everything becomes this versus that. And so it's Batman v Superman for a fucking reason.
Well, that's why that marketing always frustrated me, even before the movie came out, because of like what he said about his interpretation was the whole thing was who will win, like and it was
there was a hashtag.
Yeah, exactly. And that was such a big thing. And that was like the early stages of DC being like, we have a MCU too. And that, that's kind of when you start seeing there's all sorts. I think someone was just bringing up how Jay Oliva mentioned that like the climax of BVS, Zach maybe he said this a long time ago, but like Zach maybe wanted more people there. Like he wanted to be in the city or to have military or other people around. But
he wanted to be in Metropolis like it is
the comics.
In the comic, because that was kind of the point, was he was fighting Doomsday in the streets of Metropolis.
Well, it wasn't even that too. It was that everybody was noticing that the entire fucking Justice League was getting their ass kicked. Like, it's not like it's not like Superman was like, no, I'm going to take this creature's life because I can. It was
Doomsday marched his way all the way to the city too. It was like,
it was a cross in the comic. It was cross country. He wakes up in like West Coast California, and it's like it's a carnage to Metropolis, because they hinted at him at the end of the books for like 1 or 2 months.
That one little punch from I think it was like that one frame of him punching something.
Yes.
That's the frustrating part about BVS is that I know like Zack Snyder was fully involved in that, but I felt like the little parts where they said, oh, that Gotham Harbor is empty.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. They said it 3 times.
They did that because of Man of Steel.
They said it 3 That's right. They said it 3 times.
That's the frustrating part. Is like,
don't worry, the bad guy's not killing anybody.
And apparently, too, is like, with Justice League, the fact that where the final battle takes place, that's also a vacant city. I mean, for no more.
There's the Russian family.
Yeah. Well,
right. They want to make it vacant, but they throw a stupid Russian family in there, so there's someone for them to save.
Right. CG people running around in the background. Like,
which is funny because it's like the opposite of what they were wanting Zach to do. Like, we don't want any casualties. And now all of a sudden, Whedon is going to just throw in some random fucking casualty.
Oh, look at how the apartment building he's saving, because there's people in that building, I guess, even though we never saw.
Forget about them. We only care about the family. But you watch Avengers, and like, I don't know. I don't necessarily always like ripping on Whedon's Avengers. It's what it is. I think it
was fun. It was a fun movie.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And so this isn't like to say it's like some sort of awful thing, but especially in the context of like Infinity War, and you know what Thanos' objective is to cleanse half of life in the universe, and you even see him rounding people up and killing them in the flashback there.
Yeah.
What's going on in New York? They're just rounding people up and holding them, and like the Chitauri are like rounding up groups of people in buildings for what? For why? Like there's no, and what are they? They're just flying around in circles in New York. Like what are they doing? Functionally, like I know for the script they just needed them to be there for the Avengers to fight, and like that makes sense. You needed a set piece, but like what was their objective? Loki wanted to do something with the Tesseract, and like I get all of that, but why not just kill everybody? Why wasn't he just laying waste to the city or making demands and none of that necessarily makes sense, and it's fine because it's just a fun comic book romp. That's not like the first time that's ever happened ever. But it's so weird to have that standard then applied to like anything else, where it's like, so what's wrong? So like what you wanted in Man of Steel then was like, clearly, so you want people there so that there's stakes, but you want them to be safe, so it's not realistic. Like I don't like. It's just such a weird. How are you supposed to satisfy that?
And you look at Man of Steel, and you're watching it. Like I know it's silly, but when we see the fucking gravity engine and the Black Zero fucking
dude,
going up and
killing
down, you see
people.
those people.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're dead.
Well, and it's like this is probably too soon, but it's like making a movie about 9/11 firefighters where they're like, well, they have to save everybody because they're heroes, and so the whole point of the story is that they save everybody. It's like, no, that's not the point of the story.
Sacrifice.
And then you look at you even look at when in the Smallville battle when Namek jumps on the fucking big ass plane, the guy's like eject, and he tries to eject, and what happens? He fucking disintegrates. How does it happen?
Right.
I don't know, but you see people actively dying, whereas in BVS, and I love BVS, don't get me wrong, but dude, when they're fighting Doomsday, it's like literally they're on like 50
deserted.
fucking acres of just emptiness where nobody's in trouble, nothing, nobody's at stake. The only person that's at stake is Lois.
Yeah, there would have been a little more weight to some of those scenes if it was taken. There was actually like people out there, and that's what he wanted, but it was all the backlash. It was all everybody complaining about all the destruction and the death in Steel, that they had to do all that, and it's like, hey. And I just always think about Ben Affleck and Jay and Silent Bob, fictional characters.
Yes.
Well, it's funny
not real.
They do the animated version, and what does the animated version do? It does the same thing. They're in the fucking city, and I'm like,
they're in the city. They're killing people.
Well, actually,
that's the thing. The animated shot.
There's no people. It's like somehow Metropolis is
deserted
in the middle of the night.
They that on the news broadcast. Luckily, people have already gone home.
Those added words, those added lines is just so annoying. It's like
one that always got me was the guy in the Joint Chiefs going, "Oh, they've landed on Stryker's Island. Luckily, it's deserted." Like that's the one that gets me is the Stryker's Island comment.
Yeah. Even when Diana had to tell
the way, let's launch a nuke.
Why'd you bring him here? Yeah.
Well, that's just it. So imagine we're going, okay, Zach doesn't have to deal with that shit anymore. If he wants fucking extras, if he wants fucking people in that third act, what's to stop him from adding them? It's not like he doesn't have to film them, right? I mean, they're going to be digitally inserted.
And the problem with the perception of Zach the whole time was part of it was he was fighting Warner Brothers trying to market it as this universal appeal response to the MCU, which Zach never set out to make. When he agreed to start making this story, the MCU was like not even really a thing yet. I mean, like phase 1 was in process, but nobody knew like what it was going to be.
Nobody had seen Avengers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that kind of happened midstream. And then he maybe was or wasn't reacting to that, but then the marketing and like Warner Brothers definitely was. And the number of times in the process of explaining what Justice League was supposed to be during the past 2.5 years, the number of times that I heard somebody finally understand, like, oh, Zach wasn't making like a shared universe; he was just making a 5-part self-contained like Elseworlds.
He was making a Lord of the Rings for DC,
and they always said, like, man, I wasn't really a fan of the movies, but I'd be really curious to see where that went. Everybody, so many people thought and still think that it was gonna be this 20+ movie. Interconnecting multiple justice, like I even seen people who like should know better, because they like run websites about this stuff, criticizing Zack Snyder recently, say things like they were mocking the fact that Affleck was going to die, and they're like, Affleck was supposed to die in like Justice League 27 or something. And it's like, no, and like 2 or maybe 3. It's not. I think 2.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on, and it's unclear because he was going to do 2 and then he was going to do 3, and he talks about the 5-part arc, so it's going to be 3 movies. But does that mean that if he got all 5, that it would happen in 3? I don't know. But the point is, like, people just don't get this. It'd be like talking about Nolan and being like, man, I really love this Christopher Nolan thing, but like this grounded approach really isn't going to work once you start bringing in Darkseid. Like, this Batman is useless again. We should move away from the Christopher Nolan approach.
To your point, Steven, I've seen people who maybe a year, 2 years ago were yaying about this stuff, but as soon as it became, it's not mainstream, but as soon as it became just a tad bit more well known that it was just supposed to be a 5-movie arc, I have seen so much 180s about, oh, it's only 5 movies. I would have liked to have seen that.
Well, the other thing,
it's amazing if you had just communicated Right, it would be done by now. If you just communicated, this wasn't his intention, wasn't to make a sprawling, ongoing universe. He was trying to make a self-contained miniseries of movies that told one singular story.
Yeah. Well, here's
people were like, "Oh, he killed Dick Grayson." Well, now we can't have a Nightwing movie. I was like, "We were never gonna have a Nightwing movie." I would love to see it too. It wasn't part of that story.
Yeah,
this is what I think happened, right? So he starts working on Man of Steel, and the only reason why I even noticed this is because I was watching some of the behind-the-scenes stuff on the Batmobile and BBS. So they had a prototype fucking drivable Batmobile, fully drivable, in September of 2013. Okay? Now, if we were to think about that, that's what, 4 months after Man of Steel? They didn't just come up with the fucking story of Batman v Superman and have a fucking Batmobile ready to go 4 months later, right? So even before Man of Steel was released, they were having this idea of Batman and Superman and kind of bringing in.
Right. The infamous whiteboard existed before the end of Man of Steel.
But my point is, they didn't even broach that subject until July of 2014.
Imagine if they came out at Comic-Con and said Zack is going to do a 5-part Superman story.
Correct.
Bringing in the Justice League, facing them off against Darkseid.
Oh my God.
We would have lost our minds.
Right. And you say it'll be done. It'll be a Lord of the Rings with DC characters, and then it'll be done. And then they said, and then we're also going to allow other filmmakers to start their own thing, and maybe you are going to do a 20-film universe, but start that separately and just say this is going to be separate. But no, they had to retrofit what he was doing into that, and then confuse all the audience members into thinking that was what Zack was trying to do. All of that stuff, all the stuff people complain about, the QuickTime video emails, the island is deserted, all that stuff, which is stuff that people that hate Zack Snyder or mock him over, is stuff he was forced to include in order to maintain this studio image of an MCU copycat.
Yeah. Do you think that this was a failure to communicate, or you think that it was something that Warner Brothers was playing by ear? Okay, maybe he pitched them on the idea that he was going to do a 5-movie arc, but the studio was like, "We'll cross that bridge when we get to it." Maybe they want to gauge the public reaction and see. If this movie is one after the other, do you think that they were gonna just let him go with his 5th movie? I think they wanted to expand on this universe if they had the possibility to do so.
That's why the compromise was, you can spin other stuff out of this. So you're gonna have the Suicide Squad, you're gonna have the Batman, you're gonna have Wonder Woman, and then maybe even it ended with some sort of if you look at for example, look at how Justice League Dark. Apocalypse War. Look at the way that ends. What if Zack Snyder's Justice League ended something like that, or like a Flashpoint or something like that? Yes. Then you start your other, you start your new 52 continuity or whatever.
Look at how hands-on Snyder was with Jenkins, with Wan, and even Affleck. He was helping them write their stories. He was assisting them. So I think he always had the intention of I'm going to have my story, but you can actually make a story on your own, have a little spin-off right here and take it to wherever you want to. That's why you always hear about James Wan talked with Zack Snyder. Patty Jenkins obviously talked with Zack Snyder. He was in the damn movie for sake, and they had to do obviously that the picture and everything. And then when it came to Ben Affleck, we know that Zack Snyder was helping out with that, and they had the Deathstroke. Everything, yes. Oh. I mean, he was laying the foundation and just laying okay, I'm gonna set up a sidewalk in this street. I'm gonna set the first part of it. You're gonna finish it, okay? But I have this whole area right here. You guys can do your own thing, go in different directions. I'm gonna help you set it up, but I'm gonna go this direction and then end it, and then you guys take over. But I'll help you out by starting it out.
Which is why James Wan was still showing him the movie before he even put it out on movie theaters.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that's why I think I'm going to extrapolate and do some mind reading for Warner Brothers, which I shouldn't do. Mind reading is not a thing that people can do. But I think that Zack thought and maybe Warner Brothers had an agreement that that he was protecting his universe that way. He was like, okay, we can both. That was a compromise, not a compromise necessarily a bad thing, but it was him saying, okay, here's how you can have what you want and protect what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't have to change my 5-part arc, but you can still get these spin-offs and stuff that you want. And Warner Brothers said, okay, that's okay. The problem was it was never enough for them. And then they were like, well, no, now Justice League can't, you can't kill Lois Lane. You can't, it can't be scary. It can't, Batman, it can't be a murderer. Superman needs to be, you need to get to the hope and optimism quicker because it's not functional for this potential MCU universe that we're setting up. And of course, the process of their attempt to course correct killed the whole thing. But I think that was Zack sort of playing ball. Whereas if he was given Nolan authority from the beginning, I question whether or not there would be any spinoffs, even the Batman. Maybe
I don't think there would have been. I don't think there would have been. I really don't. And I say that only because if you look at it truly, like you had mentioned, Suicide Squad was its own thing, right? And then all of a sudden Steppenwolf gets written out because guess what? That he wasn't supposed to be in Suicide Squad. He was supposed to be in Justice League. So,
Well, or look at what else happened with Suicide Squad that jacked with Zack's continuity is Jeff Johns made David Ayer add in the Jason Todd Joker reference, which was contrary to the fact that Zack, now all of a sudden, if it's Jason Todd, that means there's a Dick Grayson somewhere loose in this world that Zack didn't account for with his movies, right? And so because you're adding in these other people who you're giving creative freedom to, you're impacting that self-contained 5-part arc. It'd be the equivalent of somebody having a spinoff to one of the Nolan movies and him having to like account for Wonder Woman existing in the Nolan verse. He'd be like, I don't want to deal with that. That power level and that level of fantasy doesn't fit at all. The Nolan Batman couldn't fight Superman. Never.
Fuck no.
Never. That would never like
He's done.
I'm curious. I want to know y'all's thoughts, and I'm not meaning it to plug our podcast, but me and Ben did.
What was the name of the podcast again?
I can't remember the name right now, but I just know that it was about a 30-minute extra on our literally on our show. Like we were about to end it, and then I had mentioned something to him, and he and I just weren't able to connect. So I wanted to see if you guys understood what I meant. So let's just assume that Zack never leaves Justice League. Okay, so he releases this compromised version, whatever it is, 2.5 hours.
You're saying like let's go back in time and Zack sticks it out through to November 2017.
Yeah.
So whatever movie he would have developed under those conditions.
Correct.
Okay.
And he releases it, whatever that version is. Okay. Whatever that version is, which is a happier, lighter. Hey, I hear you talk to fish. Jeff Johns rewrites in it. He releases that film. There's absolutely no fucking way we are seeing Zack Snyder's Justice
League. No, not at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
Right.
No. We've already, we talked about that last week.
This is what I'm thinking happened. And I'm thinking, and I don't mean to be thinking like if I was Snyder, this is what I would be like if I was in Snyder's position. Let's say your compromised version is there. You're working.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Garza?
We lost Garza right when he did that.
Brother, shut up.
He did a fatal J. He said ninja vanish, man. Garza, are you there? No?
I can't even see if he's not there. No. Or if he's still talking.
I think
still
maybe
talking.
Oh, he is.
I could finish his thought if because I think I kind of know where he was going.
It's his thoughts.
And
I want him to finish because
and I think here's what he's going to say, but I'm going to frame it in a way that I'm probably going to get a DM from Justin tomorrow to be like, good job working in the Fountainhead there. I think this is a theory that Justin's kind of posed before. I've seen float around because the Fountainhead is such a kind of intrinsic connection to this whole scenario.
We talked about this last week. Yeah.
Zack was even referencing it already in Justice League, but like you separate it from that context, even the story of Justice League lines up with the story of Fountainhead so tightly. And so I've seen the theory floated and I buy it to an extent. What happens in Fountainhead is because Howard Rourke doesn't get his design is being screwed with. And it's the point where he destroys it. He dynamites the building and brings the whole thing down. And obviously, Zack didn't dynamite Justice League, but he could have stuck it out and gotten something that was closer to what he wanted.
Yeah.
Instead, he said he knew that they were going to dynamite it, thinking they were fixing it. I think when he stepped away, I don't know if he knew where we would be now.
No, not
however, if you look at his
No,
social
see-
media activity, he was already laying the breadcrumbs. So there are questions, and I think a really good conspiracy theory to say he knew or had an idea. But if you want to take the Fountainhead, which is a really important story to him that he was already looking at adapting at the time, so you know it was on his mind, he had to make the decision as an artist who believes in the sanctity of art, like the foundational principles of what it means to be an artist, as opposed to a corporate hack, which he's spoken about in many interviews before. He had to decide, do I want to release a movie by committee that checks all the boxes they want me to check, or do I want to separate my name from it and let them make what they'll make? Maybe I'll get my version one day, maybe I won't, but I won't have to, his name is on it, but I won't have to bear the responsibility of allowing this monstrosity to create.
I mean, the name of the building, it was a name he put on the boat on
Cortland.
Cortland. Yeah, that's the name of the building.
Yeah.
It's
and it's
this is all I was going to say,
because like obviously like Justice League, when you watch it, it says directed by Zack Snyder, and we all kind of go, no, it's not. But the fact of the matter is, like, he's getting like the fact that he's getting his version, and it's literally called Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, that's an ultimate like, no, this is mine, motherfucker. Now, Jesus Christ.
So what I was saying before Grace got me off.
Oh wow, that can be interpreted in so many different ways.
I'm sure he meant it in the dirtiest way possible.
Oh my God, got you what?
So what I was saying though is, you know, with this film, I mean, you could see it post BVS, and in interviews with Zach, I mean, he was fucking beat, dude. He was down. I mean, that's all you could say. His body language, his enthusiasm,
and he admitted that at SnyderCon. He said that they felt like
they were insecure.
Well, him and Terry rewrote it with the like, you know, maybe we were wrong. And they said on the set visit, of course, the set visit, it's hard to take anything they say as like not PR speak. But they even said, like, you know, maybe people don't like this deconstruction stuff.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for him to admit that kind of stuff and before releasing the film, okay, so just think about it from his perspective. He's already having to rewrite this entire fucking film and change elements that he didn't want to change because studios wanted to pander to bloggers and critics that weren't going to watch it anyways. So he's having to rewrite this entire film and shoot it some way that he wasn't happy about. He goes through principal photography that entire time. He's already upset about compromising. Let's just be there. Like, it's not like he's going, oh yeah, I'm extremely happy about rewriting my entire fucking film that I just spent all my storyboards, all my previs, all that shit now. No. Okay, fine. So when that unfortunate event happens and he loses his daughter, I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm almost positive that he went, you know what? I'm fucking done with this film.
Oh yeah.
I don't, you know, y'all are already, y'all know what I just went through, and y'all are still coming at me going, y'all want me to do this and that, and now you're talking about possibly bringing in Whedon. You know what? Fuck you guys. I think I'm out. And you know what?
Well, I mean, he took the banner off of his Twitter for
the reason why, and
I've been waiting for him to switch it to Zack Snyder's Justice.
Oh, I know, he hasn't done it yet, huh?
He hasn't done it.
I think the reason why he decided to do that, and this is what I was trying to explain to Ben, was that at that moment, he kind of made the choice. He said, look, because he obviously went back to work afterwards. So, you know, I know that wasn't the reason why he left. That would have been the reason why he stayed. And so if he's going, I have the opportunity to leave. If I know that if I release this film the way it is right now, my compromised version, if I release this in theaters, I'm never, ever going to have an opportunity, if I were to have it, to get my other story out, my version out. You get what I mean? Like, he left that out, like, as an out for him. He didn't know how he would do it. It's not like he was planning back then going, oh, well, I'm going to release little snippets and little, you know, black and white images, and that's how I'll get my cut released. He was just like, look, if I know that if I release this film, I'm never going to have an opportunity to do it. Like, I would, you know what I mean? Like I said,
my argument was that I don't think that he will make that kind of decision based. Like, I don't think that thought would enter his mind. Like, okay, if I release this movie, I will never have an opportunity ever again to actually release the one that I want, because I think he left with the notion that he was never gonna do anything again.
Well, but you got to remember that we wouldn't have known anything about any of this behind the scenes bullshit, because I didn't look anything up on BVS drama. Even
right, but he didn't anticipate the Snyder Cut movement giving birth to the Snyder. You see, all these things are a combination. The reason why we got this movie is a combination of a lot of things, and that little thought right there was never part of the equation. So that could never be.
I'm not saying that's a thought, though. I'm saying he knew that if he released Justice League as is.
No, I get that.
Best case scenario, we would get a longer version of
the compromise,
a horribly compromised version.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Thank you. Yeah. What you guys think? Scott, tell me what do you think about this? Because he laid the foundation very nicely, by the way.
Yeah.
But when he walked away from this movie, do you feel like that he ever thought, okay, maybe if I walk away from this is a movie that I'm not gonna have my hands on it, but I could have the opportunity later on to finish the one that I want. I don't think that little piece of information ever entered his mind. And
I think the idea that it could happen was there, but especially someone like him, you don't walk away from this without accepting the possibility, if not the likelihood, that it's the end.
No.
As he walked away from it, I don't think that he was thinking, probably I'll get this done, but not. Right. He walked away having accepted the fact that story was lost.
Exactly.
Right. But he left the clues to say, I got this much of it done.
Yeah. It's finished.
This is, I think, going to what Ben, what you're kind of hinting at, what Steven's hinting at, is what we're setting ourselves up for is more of a Blade Runner final cut or a Donner cut, Superman 2 Donner cut situation, where we're looking at a longer time frame where eventually something comes out. Because if you look at and the reason I bring those up, because those are what people need to understand, the reason those two examples are always the ones that come up is because both with the final cut of Blade Runner and with the Donner cut of Superman 2, Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz came back and were able to do some work to get Superman 2, and even Superman 2, the Donner cut is not what his finished movie would have been. It's still I had to use some Lester stuff. I had to use really cheap effects at the time, but it got it as close as I could with what I had shot. And then you had the final cut of Blade Runner, where Ridley Scott got to go back and use even better special effects to replace Joanne Cassidy, change some ADR that I talked about last time. Like, both of them involve these directors coming back 20-something years later, being given a little for you. Here's a little bit of money for you. What's happening right now with Zack Snyder's Justice League is truly historically unprecidented.
Something
and he never envisioned this happening ever.
Those
scenarios that you painted. Those are the scenarios that probably he saw himself doing, 20 years from now. He never thought that 3 years from now, I'm going to start reworking this movie.
That's the thing. I'm not saying that he was thinking, I'll be able to do Zack Snyder's Justice League. All I'm saying is that he knew that if he released that fucking film, if he continued to do everything he was doing, he would not have this opportunity. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, it's like a lesser of two evils. So he said, I don't know if I'm going to get an opportunity to release my real version. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything with my original cut. But I know that if I release that film, I'm not going to be able to.
I have a scoop that I have not mentioned in public before that might put this in a little bit of context. Scoop. Yeah. Sorry, I had to use that word to get everybody's attention. But here's something I learned while researching the situation. I talked to some VFX people, and that's all I can say out of respect for
What was what does
promise.
rhyme with? Yeah.
Anonymity.
Huh?
What does last name rhyme with? The VFX artist.
In the okay, so when did Snyder leave production, or like when was it announced?
Well,
he left production?
May 17 was when it was announced in Hollywood Reporter.
May 23rd.
Okay.
Well, I meant 2000. When I
2017.
said 17, I meant May of 2017.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So presumably he had kind of lost the reins a little bit before that, but that's when it was officially came out in the trades.
Well, remember they also had like Josh Whedon set production build and literally plastered with 5/23/17 on it, which means it was printed that day.
Mhm.
So that you have to plan those sets out. It's not
Right.
like it happens.
So
yeah.
But at that point, the history lesson scene was most of it was complete, and it did not have Darkseid in it. And there was not a significantly complete version. Like, it had not had Darkseid in it for months. There wasn't an animated Darkseid model in that scene. So it's not like they had a rendered version and they cut him out and they removed him. It had been it's a long VFX pipeline of sequences of events that lead up to it being finished. And I'm sure there was more work to polish and refine it and et cetera. But like structurally, animated models in place, put together in a sequence that makes up a scene, prior to additional rendering and whatever else they're going to do, as close as we're going to see it as they intend for us to see it on screen. It did not have Darkseid, and there was not
meant to be there though.
And there was not a Darkseid model that was animated to fit into that scene either. So I don't know when that decision exactly was made, but it would have been made for sure before Zack Snyder left. So, for example, per Garza's point, if Zack had stuck it out and saw some version of his vision through to the end, in November 17th, 2017, we would have gotten a version of Justice League that did not have Darkseid in the history lesson.
Yeah, that's the question when you really think about it.
There may have been some additional photography to add him in like some sort of a cameo capacity, but the role that Steppenwolf plays in the Nightmare, which was supposed to be Darkseid's role, fighting Ares and etc. That had already been fulfilled by Steppenwolf. So the Darkseid versus Ares, the anti-life equation, all of that stuff that we kind of have hints of that's in there right now, was already all gone. And so how do you then go back to say, oh well, the Ultimate Edition has Darkseid instead of Steppenwolf? That was never going to happen.
No, that would.
That's the difference that we're talking about.
They really call it the Darkseid Edition, not even the Ultimate.
Yeah,
Edition.
and that's why I'm saying, like, Zack didn't know if this was going to happen, but he knew that if he released that film, he wasn't going to get what he's doing right now. Like, there's no fucking way that the studio or anybody, because you got to remember, they didn't have streaming back then. They wouldn't have done this. They wouldn't have made this decision. And so I think when you think about it, even with Steppenwolf, I mean, I talked to a visual effects, and they told me they had never had a full on Darkseid or Steppenwolf design change. It was always that Darkseid look that he was in theater. And I'm like, I mean, that makes sense because he had to compromise on that fucking early.
Dave has a good story about that also that he's mentioned a few times. What Whedon thought about that model.
Oh yeah,
Ben. I think Ben, you had mentioned something about that. Whenever we broke, because I had talked to a VFX artist, right whenever I did that, or it was like right around the same time, or right, you did something before, Dave. Like you had said something about that too.
Yes, that was 2 years ago. It was Dave who said it first that the compromised version would have Steppenwolf in it. That was
not even that, but the way he looked. I mean, correct. You remember from BVS, because I remember watching BVS going, that Steppenwolf, it looks serious. And we get this fucking cartoon guy in Justice League. And so like I mentioned, I think all of these decisions, all leading up to that event where, that tragedy hits, and he's going, you know what? At this point in time, I'm fuck this. I have I think he probably thought I have a better opportunity of potentially doing something that I'd rather be happy about than continuing and releasing this that I'm not going to be happy about, because, that's just, I don't, the way I see Zach and the way he works, I feel like he might not have known that he could have done this, but he knew the other option. He's like, fuck that. I'm not going to do it.
Well, maybe.
You know what I mean?
Swinton, what were you going to say?
So I was just thinking about Ben's comment. I think he's talking about the emotional, mental side of Zach when he lost his daughter, right? That's what you're trying to say. Like how he wouldn't be thinking about that. He wouldn't be thinking about I'm done, right?
But that would not be a decision maker. Right. That would have come into the equation.
Right. I think Garza is trying to say he was already thinking about that before his daughter died. Is that what?
Correct. Yeah.
You're trying to say?
I'm already. Yeah. He was already thinking like, I'm already compromising all of this shit on this movie, and I'm not happy about it. But I'm gonna do it because I made a commitment. I'm a team player.
I mean, it is kind of, sometimes you see things like, okay, Larry Fong talked about the picture locked. And, all these little instances that could give you clues to what happened. And I feel like, that could be a plan. But for me, it's almost like this is justice. Like when someone does a crime, these little slip-ups happen during that time. You can call it fate or whatever, but it's like these little slip-ups show up and it brings you back to what happened about that. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of the slip-ups that happen, like those little instances, those little hints at the larger part of the story, it's very interesting.
I think it's impossible to cover up to maintain the analogy, and also be hyperbolic, to cover up a crime of that magnitude. There's gonna be a loose end. So there's a lot of things that you can't say Zach did intentionally, like you said, with knowing that there was picture lock and stuff like that. But also, for example, on his birthday in March,
March is his birthday.
He dropped that Aquaman final VFX approval clip that he shot, showing Aquaman pulling up to the dead king. And like so much of that stuff got cut. It's hard to imagine that there wasn't and then you look at the way that he dropped stuff later on too, like when during the campaign for the Snyder Cut, it was often that he would drop stuff in correlation with other news, or as things were going on behind the scenes, it was frequent that he would drop stuff that was related to like different talks happening and stuff. And I know that not everybody was always aware of that, but it would be frequent that like there would be some sort of a meeting with Warner Brothers or something, and then he would drop a bunch of images. And there was always a reason to it. And so you got to imagine that same philosophy was at play beforehand also. So like whether or not he was hinting that VFX were done, or he was teasing a scene that he knew was going to be cut, or that he was fighting over actively at the time, there was always a semblance of it. I think it's impossible to say that. Well, and also I think in Sean Connell's upcoming book, Release the Snyder Cut, he said that in his interview with Zach, he asked him about what he was going to do, or what his plan was, like if he had never gotten it out. So I imagine that we're going to get an answer to this question explicitly from Zach eventually. And I think that's the one where he said like Zach was cussing and you knew that it was like an authentic answer. Right. But I think that that there was an understanding or an acceptance from him that like this could be the end, but he'd kind of put things out there on the chance that, or best case scenario, just to say like, hey, I had something better going on. Just CYA.
Yep.
When people start complaining, look, there's Aquaman backstory. I showed you teases of it. I don't know why it's not in the movie. It's not my fault.
Well, and I think if we tie this back into, Dave's show art that is, surrounding all of us right now, this is why, for all the people who, the wailing and gnashing of teeth that inevitably occurs with any kind of news, And and people are like, I don't care, but yet you spend so much time apparently caring because you're bitching about it on social media. This is why when I see something like the Keaton news, and if it happens, because once again, early talks or whatever that means,
all it is.
What I want to say is, if we're really at the point where AT&T and Warner Media and Warner Brothers and all the people are willing to just basically chuck the idea of an entirely connected universe out the window and just say, do whatever the hell you want. Just go for it. Make the movies you want to make. This is when I'm going, woohoo!
Yeah.
Because I'm saying, just give me damn good movies. That's all I want. And I'm not going to complain about that. I know that some people are like, because this is another complaint I've seen a lot of, is like, well, why is there so much Batman talk for the Flash movie? I want a movie that's Flash, or why does Flash's first movie have to be Flashpoint? And my argument, and this is where I come in, and I would love to. I especially want to hear Chris's opinions, because you've been way too quiet, boy. I say boy, and we're the same age, but my point is that, one, it's news because it makes a news cycle. Michael Keaton coming back is huge. It's huge. It's news. We don't know what is he a cameo? Is he a bigger part? We don't know, but they're using it as news. Just because he's going to be in the Flash movie does not mean that the Flash movie has to be about him. And another argument I would like to say with people who don't like the idea of Flashpoint being Flash's first solo movie is, one, stop thinking about it as a faithful direct adaptation of the story. Think of it as a movie that's taking inspiration from the Flashpoint story. And also, I also like the argument that says, I have a problem with Flashpoint being a story that happens with a seasoned Barry, because for some reason I wouldn't like the idea of a veteran Barry effing up that badly. And thinking, let me change the timeline to save my mom.
Be an amateur.
Yeah.
I mean,
and a third
that
point
sounds
to
like
that.
a rookie superhero mistake. It's kind of like the argument we say about Man of Steel when we want to when we as people who love Man of Steel want to defend the destruction that happens to Metropolis.
It's the
what
first
do we
time
always
he's Superman.
Say? Is that he's been Superman for 36 hours.
Yeah.
So I want to look at Flashpoint and go, the idea of going back in time and screwing with the timeline that all of us want to look at Back to the Future Part 2 and go, we know this doesn't end well. No time travel story where they try and screw up the timeline ever ends well. This has got to be a rookie move.
Well, and an additional point to that, you can't tell Flashpoint without telling his origin story.
Yeah, exactly.
Flashpoint is an origin story.
Yeah.
Chris never answered, by the way.
Fundamentally about his mom dies, his dad goes to prison, and he wants to fix it, so he goes back in time to change it. That's an origin story.
Even
if you tell it after 30 movies,
like it.
you have to tell the origin story in order to tell Flashpoint. So it's the perfect origin story, really.
And by the way, let's remember, it's an origin story that didn't exist until 2009. I mean... okay, I know I'm going to bring up the name that no one likes to bring up, but like this was he who shall not be named was the one who came up with this origin story. His
really
mom,
by the way,
his mom. I
mentioned that in my podcast, by the way.
I mentioned the real emotion
in the Real Emotion podcast.
Damn.
Okay, cool. I was thinking there should be like a area for a plug somewhere.
No, but Chris was supposed to answer that question. He never answered that question, though.
What question? What was the question?
Scott started off. Well, I want to hear Chris.
Right, I had to get on my rant first, Ben. I was on a roll.
You went on a roll, like you forgot that Chris was right next to you.
I always sit back like this when I'm trying not to talk.
I was just agreeing.
So I have aired my opinions on the subject. Chris.
Yes.
Chris has no
I agree. No, I mean, like, I get it. Like I've seen a lot of people, probably the same people you're saying, where why is it Flashpoint now? You know, why do we build it up? Because we need an origin story. You know, we already know these characters. For me, I've got a biased look on that because I'm like, I already know Flash. I want to see that story. I don't want him to, go through the crime lab and get hit by lightning again. I mean, that could all happen right at the intro opening thing and then get right to the point. Once you have that superpower, like Steven says, wouldn't you want to do something with it? The perfect thing he would probably want to do is save his mother, get his dad out of jail, do that. I think, and that thing I think is the perfect origin story, like Steven said.
Yeah, and then here's what everybody keeps on saying, like, I've even had debates on my timeline and everything. Like, have you read Flashpoints? Yes, I know what happens in Flashpoint, but again, we got to stop. We got to stop saying that this is going to be like a full-on adaptation
beat by beat.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be beat by beat. Just like Snyder, when he took pieces of Dark Knight Returns, he took pieces of Death of Superman. He took those and made his own version of it. Just like Muschietti is going to make his own version of a Flashpoint story. And the fact of the matter is, it's like, yeah, I want to see Jeff Dean Morgan as the Flashpoint Batman. But if they're going to throw a curveball and be like, well, something gets really fucked up and the timeline gets jacked up and the multiverse gets all crazy and we bring in Michael Keaton's Batman, that makes it work. It's not just stunt casting, or anything else. I mean, exactly. A little bit, but hopefully they make it work.
I think that's a problem because they keep mentioning Flashpoint. It's like Flash. So a lot of people read that. It's like, it's Flashpoint though. The headlines are like, it's Flashpoint. And you're already just embedding that idea, that hard idea. It's really just inspirations probably, right?
Well, and look at Civil War. The movie Civil War was nothing like the book. Nothing like the book. And what we're doing is that we're looking at this as comic book fans who are we are so ingrained and like absorbed,
this
and we
mentality.
And we lose. It's frustrating for us because we love this material so much, but we lose that perspective that these movies are made for the general audience because that's where the studios are going to make their money. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can go to these movies all day long and it's great, but we are a fraction of the audience that generates the ticket sales. So they have to make a story that works for someone who has no idea what the hell any of us are talking about.
Right. It's funny that you say that because I don't know if you guys realize what Snyder did as far as what he could have done. So you got to remember when BVS comes out, we don't really know the story of Suicide Squad. We also don't know the story of Flash. We also don't know really the story of Wonder Woman. And same thing with Aquaman. And all four of those movies literally they get branched off in a perfect way for each director, or it would have been, right? With BVS, Superman dies. That's the whole reason why Suicide Squad gets set up, right? However, the film was supposed to happen, the idea there is because Batman and Superman fought, now Superman's dead, we need some kind of task force, right? So that's why Suicide Squad's there. The reason why, we see this photo of Diana, it gets tied into the whole 1919 or 1917 Wonder Woman film. And Patty gets to do her own film. And then you have Flash in Justice League. He's visiting his father because his father's in jail for the attempted murder. We don't find out why that's the case, but I'm sure we probably get more backstory. But that would have led into Barry doing whatever he was going to do in the Flash film with Cyborg. And then you have Aquaman. Same thing at the end of Justice League. He's leaving because he wants to go visit his dad, which continues into Aquaman. So all of those films were going to have their own tether to Justice League and BVS without basically being involved in Zack's story. And yet the studio wanted more. They were like, no, we want 20 more films.
Of course.
They weren't happy about all of it. I mean, dude, that's literally, I just named 6 fucking films within a couple of years that all tie together that could have kept going had they not have fucked this over.
Well, and I think... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I know people don't like to think of Zack as the architect, but I mean, he was kind of the architect and the teacher. It's not like he was going, I need y'all to stick to my plan because this is what I want to do. He was like, hey, you know what? This is how I'm going. Do you think you could come up with a story that might fit it? Or where do I need to go with? Because he cast Henry Allen, right? He cast Volko. He cast Mira. He cast obviously Gal Gadot. He cast fucking he didn't cast Joker, but what did he do? He told Ayer, hey, look, you know, he got his teeth knocked out 10 years into Batman's career. That's the whole reason why he has those plates. So yeah, cool. The reason why he got his teeth knocked out is because he fucking killed Dick Grayson. Remember
well, Femawiya cast Kiersey Clemens, and what does he do? He puts her in Justice League.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, and you look at the suit. That's the whole reason why Joker's missing the teeth, because Joker fucking killed Dick Grayson. And it's like all of that shit ties in so fucking seamlessly had it worked out. And that, I mean, tell me one fucking, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I know we were talking about the Avengers, but dude, you watch Captain America next to Iron Man, you're not thinking they're going to literally be in the same universe right away. You're like, yeah, they're completely different fucking films.
Or look at Thanos, and none of Thanos' story in Infinity War. Like, people say that they set him up over the course of the MCU, but
it doesn't connect.
His tease at the end of Avengers, his cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy,
and Age of Ultron,
his cameo in the post-credit scene of Age of Ultron. That's all retcon, not only in story, but in his appearance.
Oh yeah,
entirely new backstory and an entirely new look. In like Infinity War does all of the legwork of Thanos. The only thing the other movies do is just say he's coming. He's here. He's a threat, and he's coming. But to piggyback a little bit on what Garza was saying, but also on what Scott was saying, and what I was saying earlier, sort of about the Nightwing stuff. Is that the thing that a lot of fans don't get, and I've said this a lot on Twitter, but never on the Vodka stream, is
exclusive.
Yeah. The notion of a DC shared universe, people don't understand how the movies or the franchises work. And you get a lot of complaints about, well, it's too soon because we need that story. Like, you can't have Death of Superman because you need to have this story first. And you can't have that story because you need this story first. You need several movies to set this all up. And the fact of the matter is, like, let's use the MCU as a template. You get 3 movies per character, maybe one side character who probably doesn't get their own spin-off movie. And it all has to, and
not until after she's dead. Sorry.
And that's it. So like looking at like Batman as an example, you get Batman. You're probably gonna do 2 Robins at most. You have to do Batgirl if you're gonna do Robin, so you can't so maybe you can do Dick and Jason, but you're not gonna have
Damian because you need Talia.
Yeah, or if you do Talia. And so then the question is,
if you do Talia, you got Roz, so you can't have Roz in there.
Right, exactly. And so how do you tell like a 3-story Batman arc? Probably you don't have long enough to build up to Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, but maybe you could do like a year 1, The Long Halloween meets Dark Victory meets Hush, leading into like a Batman Inc. Part 3, which connects to an event or a Justice League team up. Like, sure, you could do it, and then maybe you get a single Nightwing spinoff, but like, and so that covers like a lot of ground. But like, what are you leaving off the table there? There's no Nightfall. There's no look at all these other big stories that like are just off the table, and that's a shame. But like, it's the reality of these movies.
And what I want to talk about with that, Steven, is that I think about, because when Apocalypse War came out, I did a complete rewatch of all 16 of those animated continuity movies. And what I noticed is there's only 2 Robins, and they even in dialogue say, in that universe, you had Nightwing and you had Damian. There was no Jason. There was no Tim. Even they trimmed it down to say, in this continuity, because you got like 4 solo Batman movies over the course of 16 films that were very, I mean, you got like a Batman trilogy that focused on Batman and Damian. And Nightwing is already like the first time you see Dick Grayson, he's already Nightwing, and he's been Nightwing. He's already been with the Teen Titans, and even that doesn't get revealed until like 10 movies in. And so there's all these like they introduced the idea of Batgirl, but literally she shows up in Hush and Apocalypse War.
But you don't have the Killing Joke. You don't have Death in the Family. You don't. It's just missing, and it's unfortunate. That'd be awesome to get those movies. Not gonna all happen in the same unless you have a multiverse and just let people do whatever the hell they want. Maybe
Which is how you got the Killing Joke movie, because it was a standalone movie that didn't exist within the continuity.
And that's a thing about, especially with Snyder fans. I'll say what's really frustrating, going back to the Dick Grayson thing, is there's a lot of Snyder fans that were like, no, it should have been Jason because
we wanted to see Dick Grayson. Yeah.
Well, because that frees you up to do a Nightwing movie. And the response is, well, Zach didn't want to do a Nightwing movie. And it's like, but what if somebody else did? Why close that off? But the bottom line is, that's how we got Justice League. That exact line of thinking is how we ended up with Justice League. I get it. You want your story to be told. You know what? It starts with, well, let's just make it Jason Todd instead of Dick Grayson. And then you've got like, well, we can't really kill Lois. And then you've got like, then you got, well, Batman really shouldn't kill, and Superman should really smile.
It's the snowball effect.
And then all of a sudden you got Mustache Superman in a movie that doesn't have Darkseid in it. Like, just let him tell his story. It's Zach's story. Doesn't have Jason Todd in it. It's because Dick Grayson is the one that died. It's not your call as to why or whether or not that's right or not. He's telling a story. Let him finish his story. If the story ends and you don't think that was the right way to do it, fine. Then you can evaluate it then. But don't stop at midstream and start critiquing it. That's exactly how we got the Justice League. So the fact that any Zack Snyder fan would be like, "Oh, I don't agree with Zack on this one," it's like, cool. So you like Justice League then? That's exactly how we got Justice League. So
I go back to Dark Knight Returns. Dark Knight Returns suggests that Jason died, and Dark Knight Returns was written before Death in the Family. Somehow Frank Miller predicted the idea that he'd have Dick, and then he'd have Jason, and Jason would die, and then you get a retired Batman. Like, it's happened before. And then this was before Jason actually died. This is before Tim. So even in Dark Knight Returns, you had Dick, who says he doesn't want anything to do with Bruce. You've got Jason, who died, and that was something Miller did. And it's like a little one-off comment in that first little conversation between Gordon and Bruce when they're having drinks. And then you get Carrie Kelly. Like it's like people don't understand that when you do an Elseworld story, you get to do whatever the hell you want.
Well, and that's why I'm saying I'm almost fairly fucking positive. That's why Rick was hired. That's why Ayer was hired. That's why Patty and James, all of them. And so Ben Affleck was going to do his Batman film because that's the whole point. Deathstroke, right? So when you look at all 5 of those extra films, Zach was playing ball. He was like, look, I'm going to give you some extra. This universe, it's going to cover fucking 10 years. Okay? We're going to cover it. But I'm doing it this way, and I'm allowing these directors to go in certain ways. Like, you wouldn't have looked at it going, yeah, it would have been a different style than MCU because it wouldn't have been narratively linear. We got Wonder Woman and Flash and Aquaman. And so when you think about it that way, like Zach was already the head of the curve with bringing in Batman and doing all this stuff. That's the whole reason why he had all 5 of those directors on stage with him. Because he was like, yeah, this looks like a universe to the general audience.
But even that plan was compromised, though, if you really
point. He had a plan, and he went, yeah, I'm going to have Ayer do this film next, and I'm going to have Patty do this film next, and then Rick's going to do this film, and then Batman's going to do this film, and then I'll be able to finish it, and you guys can do whatever you guys want. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, well, I also want to point this out because I see someone in the comments, and thank you. You made my point for me. Sappo over here in the comments. If you've never read a comic, when someone says Robin,
they think Dick Grayson.
They think Dick Grayson. Yeah. So when I see people complaining about why kill Dick, because a general audience, that's the only Robin they know. You say Jason Todd, you say Tim Drake, you say Damian, they have no idea who you're talking about.
So that's why it fits so perfect. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, like, Zach already knew that. He was like, look, I'm not going to sit there and go, yeah, my Batman's 20 years in Gotham, but I'm going to somehow bring in another fucking Robin. Like, no, dude. he is this way for this story, and then he's gonna be this way for this story, and then he's gonna face Deathstroke, and then he's gonna die.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
it, dude.
I
Yeah,
would,
dude.
I would have loved to have a Zack Snyder Nightwing in this universe, or another Nightwing, like a spinoff or whatever. So I'm not even saying like that's my preference is for it to happen this way. I'm just saying that's the reality of storytelling, and the decision that Zack made was that there wasn't room to tell that story in this universe, or he decided that storytelling wise, it was more concise. It made more sense for Dick to be the dead Robin.
Well, you also gotta remember too.
That's why he killed. That's why he killed Jimmy Olsen. It just didn't fit in the story that he wanted to tell.
Right, and his commentary says that. And what gets me is too many people are so hung up with this MCU idea of this has to be this evergreen universe that keeps on going on. But no, if you think about this as a man telling his story that has an end point, it's like the people who gripe, and I'm going to bring back Nolan. It's like the people who gripe about Batman retiring at the end of Dark Knight Rises. It's like
the way he finished the story.
The story doesn't end if Bruce doesn't quit.
Yeah, exactly.
And people want to say, but Batman would never quit. But Nolan's Batman quit.
Batman that could quit.
Well, that's why I always say he should have died.
Well, and as I've always said, like, tell me the fundamental principle of any character, like Flash. What is like the core defining characteristic of Flash?
He runs fast.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's it.
Okay,
and he's hopeful.
He's a forensic scientist.
So if you're gonna tell us like a definitive story about Flash, what if he couldn't run fast, right? Or like what if like you take the way that you tell like the definitive story about any of these characters is what is the core defining principle and what happens when they lose that. That is the story about any.
Well, he does lose his power on Flashpoint, so.
Right, because the accident never happened.
Right, exactly.
So we have to recreate the accident.
And what I was going to say though, I think that's the reason why Zack was okay with Ayer casting a Joker. Why he was like, look, I'm not going to have a Batman film with Joker in it. I'm not going to do that. And
That's not part of the 5-part story.
Well, right. And I know that he probably also talked to Ben Affleck about it, going, look, dude, I understand you want to have a Batman film. Here's where I think you might want to go with it. I don't think you should tread another Joker film. I think it should be a unique character that we've never seen in live action before. And all of a sudden they start thinking about, Deathstroke. Okay, well, great. If you want to have Deathstroke, how about I get him to break out Lex in my prison scene in Justice League? That way you could tie into your film. I mean, those are the kind of simple ideas that you go, you know what? I could probably make a story out of that. Yeah, both of them are fighters. Both of them have, assistants. They're both older, grizzly. Dude, yeah. And then guess what? Nobody's asking, well, how is this Deathstroke compared to another Deathstroke? It's like literally his own story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think those are the ideas that probably fit. And that's why Ayer was like, yeah, I'm going to cast a Joker, which, dude, having a Joker show up in another film that Batman is not even your main person in it, that's fucking ballsy. But that's how much creative freedom he gave Ayer. Whether Ben likes him or not, I love Joker. I love Leto's Joker. And
I don't.
I think, yeah, I know. And I think
Ben Affleck for a minute. I was like, what?
Yeah, but I think that's why Rick allowed Henry Allen to get cast, and why same thing with James Wan, how he allowed Volko and Mira to get cast, because they were all in that group thing going, here's the story that I'm thinking of. Are you guys okay with this?
Yeah.
Because I mean, they didn't have to keep those actors. I mean, let's be honest, they didn't have to. It's not like they were.
Oh,
you're fixing.
But thinking about casting, but talking about casting actors, and then going back to the story that hit this week about the idea of, the idea of Reynolds coming back as a different Hal Jordan, or even kind of the conversations that we've been seeing and having on our timelines about the other lanterns that are possible, because somehow Sector 2814 just loves to get lanterns because, every other sector has like one lantern and we've got like four or six.
I always go back to that. Was it a Father's Day image or something where Cyborg's having his vision in the mother box with his
It
parents?
was Father's Day. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, and so in the back, I think it was in the Vero where Zack Snyder said that in the back those are Green Lantern ships, right?
Well, someone said
So-
like, "What is that?" And then Zach just, and it's frustrating because like since Vero is not threaded, you never know exactly what he's responding to. But someone was like, "What is that?" And Zach is just like,
Yeah.
"Green Lantern." It's like, what?
What are you responding to? I
We
know.
already expanded that idea of Green Lantern Corps. It's a giant. There's a lot of them.
Many.
of them.
Right. Yeah, well, and there's
Hmm.
also there's something when you go back to Hard Traveling Heroes, that run with Denny O'Neil, may he rest in peace, and Neil Adams, when they introduced John Stewart. There was even something that was like, I cannot remember the continuity because it's been years since I've read Hard Traveling Heroes, that either John Stewart was before they kind of retconned it where someone got the ring first and then the ring eventually made it back to somebody else. And so the idea of having multiple lanterns, because we have a universe that Wonder Woman's been around for 100 years. Batman's been around for 20 years. Really, the newbie here is Superman.
Yep.
And even by the time we get to BVS, he's been around for 18 months.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't we have multiple lanterns?
Well, if you
and
think
why
about
can't
it
there be
also-
multiple Earth lanterns?
If you think about it too, they in this kind of more grounded universe, like why would a lantern like they would patrol the sector, but prior to Superman, why would a lantern be on
Not
Earth?
show up.
Yeah,
Right. So you'd have so like if you hadn't held Hal Jordan, he'd be off in space this whole time.
Yeah.
Training or doing all this other stuff.
He's got a whole sector to patrol.
Exactly. And so like you remember the idea that there was a I don't know enough details about it, so I never know if this is like one of the compromises or whatever, but there was this idea that we know Zach shot a scene of Bruce at the lake house with a green light that was intended as some sort of a post-credit tease or something where Tomari and Kilowog appeared to him, and they never ended up doing anything with it. I always thought it was a little bit weird that like Tomari and Kilowog would be in like a Snyder movie. I'm sure he would have done something cool, but how cool would it be? Remember, was it the Goyer script for Green Lantern Corps that was like a lethal weapon?
Yeah.
How cool would it be if like you had that scene and ended with
Hal Jordan and John Stewart?
Yeah, how awesome would that be? Where like there's a tease, whether or not it's post credits or during the run of Justice League, or maybe they rethink the concept entirely and it's not even done through that same tease, but you just have them show up. But for like Hal Jordan and John Stewart to both be already existent like buddy cops in this universe who have been off
Ryan Reynolds, and he looks at Bruce and goes, "You're fucked."
Yeah. Because the rumor from way back then was that Justice League or Justice League 2 would end with a Green Lantern coming to Earth to be like, dude, he's coming.
Wasn't it David? Wasn't it like a seasoned Hal Jordan, older Hal Jordan with a younger John Stewart?
Yeah.
So
right, because I mean, it's like it's the idea of Lethal Weapon or Training Day in space, that you always have the seasoned cop and the rookie. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche because it works. Because even Hal's stories, who's his seasoned cop? It's Sinestro.
Yeah,
because Sinestro was Hal's mentor.
Well, and I don't mean to use this as a line like as a quip, but I mean, in BVS when Batman is standing there about to fight Superman, I mean, he's just like, well, here I am. Like that's the kind of shit I can hear him saying to an older Hal Jordan who, Batman's going, all right, well, 18 months ago I learned that there's aliens and now Superman exists. And now all of a sudden I'm learning that there's a full-on fucking Green Lantern Corps that exists. What the fuck? And an older Hal, Ryan Reynolds, like combating with an older Ben Affleck as Batman. I can only imagine the kind of dialogue that would be there that wouldn't be necessarily quippy, but it would be.
Well, you got 20 years in Gotham. How many good guys are left? And then you got Hal Jordan be like, 20 years in Gotham. You don't even know what I protect your planet from.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
and then you get John Stewart, because another thing that people forget is that John Stewart, he's a Marine.
Yeah, he's a soldier.
Yes,
he's not Hal Jordan.
you've got Hotshot Pilot, and then you've got like hardcore Marine. That I'm sorry, another book. I mean, if you want to talk about a book that also brings him in, and the whole New Gods thing, is read Cosmic Odyssey. That has freaking consequences for Stewart that play out for the rest of his continuity. And you get Anti-Life, and you get Darkseid, and you get High Father, and you get all that stuff. And people would go, what about Guy, and what about Kyle? But look at our Justice League. Look at what we have, and we think about the way that Zack casts movies, and he does tend to be very non-traditional in either his mix-up or his lineups, and like that just adds a more broader picture to your set of heroes if we don't just automatically have just Hal there.
Well, and also think about the concept of, so you've got Man of Steel really, really hits the sci-fi concept hard. Obviously, you start with Krypton, and then you do have the bit about them searching different planets for different outposts, and there's Kryptonian outposts on different planets. Krypton's not the only other planet out there, obviously, right? So you have this whole sci-fi world kind of already established.
Yeah, they expand pretty good.
And then Justice League or BVS doesn't really have any of that. It's very focused on this political earthbound story. And then Justice League, the theatrical cut, has almost all the sci-fi stuff stripped out. We don't really know where Steppenwolf comes from. We don't know why he's here. We don't know what he's doing. Martian Manhunter's gone. And so you don't really have a character who can educate the League on what's going on. Wonder Woman can tell them about the invasion, but you're missing that character who can say like, oh no, this is Darkseid. We know about Darkseid. And Martian Manhunter can probably do that a little bit. But the notion of like a Hal Jordan, and especially if like Jon Stewart is in there too, if they can bring both of them in as these kind of seasoned cops who have been patrolling the sector, protecting Earth from all the stuff they don't know about, to be like, no, here's what's up with Darkseid. Here's what's up. Like, they've been going planet to planet or whatever, and they're the ones that know everything. We need to get that knowledge, not the knowledge from the inside of the shrine, but the knowledge of the galactic history of what's going on. Who's going to deliver that information?
Like what you mentioned, like what you mentioned in Man of Steel. Like, okay, when Zod comes to Earth, that he's not announcing it to every other planet. Like, it's a self-contained technically to Earth, and it happens within a 24-hour time frame. It happens, it ends, and nothing major happens until 20 months later, 18 plus 3, so 21 months later, right? Almost 2 years later. So there's absolutely no reason why a Green Lantern's going to show up here. They're not protecting us from nothing. We're not, we got hit one time by Zod, and that was it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think, and even whenever you think about the Shrine of the Amazons, that's a history lesson. That's Euxis when he's before Darkseid. When you're thinking about, we know there's a line in there, obviously, if you've watched the movie as much as I have, when Steppenwolf, says to Diana, like, you're, the old gods, the old gods died. Well, I've watched enough BVS to know that Terrio wouldn't drop that line in there unless there was some either version of us seeing that happen or us being told the old gods died. Yeah.
Because, and you've got that line from the trailer that's famously removed from the theatrical version of no Kryptonians, no lanterns. Well, once again, it goes back to the fact that if you're going to say there's no Kryptonian and you're going to say there's no lanterns, that has to be at some point there was Kryptonians, there was a lantern. Like, you have to say, if there's none of them now, there was something. There was something before, which goes back to the theory of the empty pod from the scout ship.
Yeah, but he also says lanterns as a plural, as a plural thing. I mean, he's not saying that as a throwaway. I mean, that's a fucking line there.
It's exposition for future events.
Well, not even that. You got to remember, he's talking to Decide at that point in time. What the fuck is he talking to Decide for right there? Like, that's right. It's because the ring that they heard everywhere in the universe was Superman's dead. So what? So is that the reason why Green Lanterns are coming down, or is it because they I mean, you know what I mean? Is that the call that Green Lanterns are going? Wait, what the fuck did we
gotta go there?
That call too.
Or
Well, yeah, they would
Apocalypse.
have to. Yeah, if they would have to. If Euxis or if Darkseid hears it, Green Lanterns are hearing it.
Oh, the Guardians are going to hear it.
Yeah,
and communicate to through the ring. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like if you understand how the DC universe works, if that cry is enough to wake up mother boxes, communicate all the way to Apocalypse, which is technically in a different dimension. It's like you don't think the Guardians of the Universe are going to get that phone call?
Yep. How Man of Steel was supposed to be where he's the hero and it brought out these other heroes on Earth. Then Batman v Superman brought out other heroes galactically. I think that's a great progression of how Superman is his arc. You know, that's pretty awesome.
Which is what, you know, kind of like what I was talking about even with Matt Reeves' Batman. It's like, you know, with Christopher Nolan's Batman, you can't have him telling those stories. And let's say he's 3 films in and he beats Bane up and he doesn't retire and he lives and he's wanting to continue. You don't fucking bring in another Superman in there. Like, we've already just watched him 3 movies in by himself, no mention of Superman, and all of a sudden there's these other characters.
Well, and even when look at Bane, the version like I think Tom Hardy's Bane is great. You know, he's a classic character and everything, so there's no knock on that. But you look at the difference in the universes. Like you're not going to have that Bane beat him up that bad and then be like, oh, also there's Superman. Like no, like
then you got to fight him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like, you know, same thing with Man of Steel. When you have fucking Zod pop in from another planet, it's kind of hard to keep another grounded world where it's like there's nothing involving with, you know, planets ending or anything like that. That's why Brainiac would be a logical way, because Brainiac's literally destroying planets.
True.
Versus, you know, the fact that he did bring Lex in for the second film was genius, because he went, I'm going to have Lex be the villain, but actually Batman's going to be the grounded villain that we have. And that was his kind of diversion of us not really thinking about McDonald's.
I want a Big Mac.
McGriddle.
Do they serve breakfast right now still? Because I'll go for a McGriddle.
But you know,
I got a McGriddle too.
You can't sit there and go cosmic like that. Stupid. You can't go cosmic like that. You know, like we were talking about with the Green Lanterns and all that, and then try to relate to another down to earth story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I think Zach was doing. That's why we would have gotten to that nightmare version, because where the fuck do you go after Darkseid's invading? Like,
exactly.
You can't just
at that point.
Yeah. So I think Nightmare would have been, you know, like he was saying, Flashpoint, but different.
Yeah.
Like this
Flashpoint, but different.
Yeah. So Flashpoint is setting up Infinite Crisis. I think that's what the ultimate goal is. What do you think, Scott?
So do y'all think is that a Jim Lee decision? Because
well, he's the one who he's the one pushing for this multiverse.
Well,
I think the multiverse is just because it kind of goes back to the argument in my rant that I made earlier, which is when you do the multiverse, you can do whatever.
Well,
I think
what I mean,
the thing about the whole conversation that was weird when the multiverse started coming out, that I was seeing really a big divide on Twitter, was I did a poll. I said, when you think about the multiverse potential with this happening, what do you think? And I had 2 options. One was everything matters, and one was nothing matters. And most people said everything mattered. It was like 75-25. But I think that's a really interesting point, that I think people are still, even with the multiverse concept, trying to fit it into the
continuity
story,
into the MCU. Yeah. Like think of it. Don't think of it as like an MCU style point by point story that just happens to exist across multiple continuities. No, what we're talking about is a universe that exists and multiple different storylines going on within that can jump around between movies if necessary.
Each director is an archetype.
Yeah, it's like they're not building to an Infinity War. Although if they wanted to do an Infinity War, look at all the DC movies that exist. You could look at all the characters. You could just pluck from all of those existing movies. Like hypothetically, you could do a Batman versus Superman movie.
Wow.
Bale, Keaton, Clooney, Affleck versus Hulk.
You said Clooney.
The nipple bag.
And I mean, it's not going to happen. But like hypothetically, like why not? Like you can now. You have the mechanism. To do that. That's a terrible idea. I wouldn't support it at all. But it's cool.
Injustice 2 or Injustice the game. Spoiler alert for the first one. I mean, that's what they do. That's how Superman gets beat. They go to a different universe of another Superman. And it's amazing that because I didn't even think about it when I was playing that game and looking at the storyline and reading the comic, and you go, when the comic and that Superman from the other Earth shows up and he starts kicking Superman's ass, and you're kind of wondering like, why the fuck? How could this Superman get beat if it's just Superman? And I think Tom Taylor is the one that wrote it.
Yeah, Tom Taylor wrote the book.
And he's like, hey, you haven't fought. I've been fighting, literally my whole time that I've been Superman. You haven't fought anybody in what, 8 years, 5 years? Yeah, I'm kicking your ass. And so I think that'd be funny. Like if they wanted to have a Brandon Routh version of Injustice and a Henry Cavill version of Superman come be the one. How unique that would be if they wanted to do that. They don't have to, but
they can now.
What's that paper this week where they're talking about Batman Beyond? I mean, how fucking cool is that? Michael Keaton and like Dave, you said it on your video where it's like that's the third movie in the Burtonverse.
Yeah, that's what's cool about it. It's like the fact that he would get his full-on Batman trilogy. Because he was supposed to do Batman 3, and it didn't happen because Batman Returns couldn't sell toys because you had the Penguin bite someone's nose off.
Yeah.
So obviously, we kind of that.
But now you can do that because it's only version because it exists in a multiverse. Yeah. Where you can tell one story for kids and you can tell another for adults.
Talking about the financial aspect of it, because one thing is that we're getting Keaton, but everybody's in reality we're getting 89 Batman. And just having that name associated with any movie, it piques everybody's interest. Because
I don't remember. It was fairly recently, or it's maybe a common thing that happens regularly. But when people describe like when you think of blockbuster movies or summer movies, what movie do you think of? And like one of the top 5 movies that people mention is Batman '89, Jaws,
because it was nuts.
Batman '89,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it just makes financial sense. Like, okay, we're gonna introduce this Flash movie, which is very popular. Let's not get it all fucked up. He is popular, but to lace it with '89 Batman, that was like an event movie. That was like it was like the whole ratio of the entire year, '89, and just
very marketable.
Yes. So just to put those two and just explore that venue is just. It sells itself. Like marketing doesn't have to do anything.
Well, and it's also not the primary demographic of these movies, too. All of the
and the argument of that's not my Batman, that's not my Superman, no longer is even part of the can be
because he literally is
your Batman.
Our Batman. I mean, because you're talking about because when you look at the Michael Keaton, what that appeals to is most of our generation who was 7-ish or at least in that range when that movie came out.
Same thing.
I'm graduating high school graduates.
Yes, I went with my second wife to watch Batman '89.
Yeah. But also
had a hard time getting a sitter that night. Our oldest kid wasn't quite old enough to watch the baby, so.
But it also appeals to the generation above us, because once again, who did I go to that movie with? My dad.
Yeah,
so there's at least 2 generations, and you think I'm not going to show my kid Michael Keaton eventually?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, heck yeah! It's my kid's seeing all of it.
Look at the demographic. Like, what's the it's 18 to 24, or what's the primary
18 to 35 or
18 to 35? So like that's the primary demographic that you're talking about for most of these movies, where like you can basically just count on them to show up no matter what. Michael Keaton being in a superhero movie in 2021, 2022, you add another demographic into that would have, like, my dad just doesn't go to movies at all. If you told him Michael Keaton is going to play Batman in a new movie, He probably still wouldn't go, but his the chances of him going though are skyrocket
right?
by having that in there.
And that's what's crazy. Like my daughter, like I mentioned, she loves BVS. I mean, it's her favorite film. She loves Ben Affleck's Batman. She cannot fucking stand, and I mean like she can't stand because she looks at it like it's a joke. Christian Bale's Batman. She's like, that's not the real Batman. And when I showed her Michael Keaton's Batman, like we watched both the films, she literally had no problem with him being Batman. Yeah, like there was no, oh, he looks small, or he just looks fake, or that suit, I can't believe the suit's rubber. I have no idea what it is about that. Like, and I'm just meaning that as far as how kids would look at,
well,
Ben
because
Affleck
the movie doesn't try to be realistic. The movie is a fantasy.
Exactly.
It's a mood.
It's that dark deco. It's something Burton does really well. Is that Burton makes it something otherworldly.
Create the world. And it fits in that world.
Just that opening intro where you're just going through the thing with the Batman music going. I still remember that to this day.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it's weird to me that my daughter she could literally accept Burton's Batman, but she clowns on Christopher Nolan's Batman, and I'm like,
well, Christopher Nolan's Batman says that this is happening in our world, whereas like what you guys were saying with Burton. Think about the notion of shooting something. I think it was mostly on soundstage.
It was Pinewood,
because and frankly, Burton and Keaton is like not really my Batman at all. I've never really been a huge fan. I've only seen it a couple times. I was like 5'4" when it came out, and so I was just like too young to see it. And then by the time I was like older and into Batman, there was other Batman movies.
I grew up with the 95 and 97 Batman, so
but like you watch that movie and you look at it and the way that he did like the sets on that, and he created Gotham City.
He did.
And you watch stuff now with like the Mandalorian and the Volume and this. If you guys have seen the Mandalorian documentary where they have this like it's a dome that they reverse. It's basic or it's LCDs, but it's like basically a reverse projection. It's like a live action green screen where the background is there already, and they even say it feels realistic. Like you're sitting there, and then they'll change it to a desert, and like you feel like you're in a desert, and like you forget that you're not, or like you're not even sitting on a set. That it's just a projection on there. That like that obviously it goes without saying that technology wasn't around when the Batman was made. Yet Burton was still able to create on a stage an immersive environment that created an entire city, an entire world, an entire aesthetic, and based on like the technology and the resources available back then, that wasn't very common in the type of movie making that you get then. Yet he was able to create this transformative experience that puts you in Gotham City. Like what Gotham City looks like. You could probably have an idea of what it smells like, even just based on the way he designed it, right?
And you don't have the problem. And you don't have the problem that you have with other movies where you're going, that's Chicago, that's Pittsburgh, that's New York. It was
Gotham.
Gotham.
It was Gotham City.
Yeah,
it's its own character.
I think that's what my daughter recognized is that okay, this obviously isn't Ben Affleck's Batman, but this is something different. This isn't like anything I'm used to. Like that's what I truly think she was thinking of, and it's just so completely different than what she's probably used to as far as Batman movies are concerned. She actually loves the '66 Batman because her and her grandfather, they watch that all the time. Like she loves that campy fucking 1966 Batman. But then all of a sudden she's like, no, but no Batman touches Ben Affleck's Batman. And I'm like, what? Like, you could not have the most opposite fucking Batman's favorite Batman.
That's awesome.
But that also leads me to what I was going to ask in general. Like, Jim Lee, if he's in charge of all this, do you think he knew that this would be the potential, or at least this is in the works, when he got Ezra Miller to show up on The Flash? Because if that was all his
Of course. It was deliberate.
But that would mean that he is literally the godfather of all this multiverse, everything, right?
But okay, so this is the idea that I cannot remember where this idea came from, and maybe I've said this before. I think I've only said in private conversations. But if you think about the difference between He Who Should Not Be Named as a writer and Jim Lee as an artist, if you just think about comic books, when you are the writer, you are in charge. You are creating everything in a traditional comic book creating medium. You're basically used to getting your way because you're writing the book.
That's law.
Oh, you're right.
That's law,
story.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're the traditionally, now there are some artists who transcend this, but in most cases, when you're the artist, you are supporting
The writer.
the
vision.
writer, because the
yeah.
writer has written the script.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then your job is to bring to life the words in their script. So if you think about the difference in mentalities of the two most recent people to have this chief creative officer role, is you have a person who is used to it being, I write the script, it's my story, it's my way, and you're used to someone who's more of a support capacity of, I am trying to bring your story to life. It is possible, and I'm speculating here, but it can lead to a different mentality of, if we want to think of Jim Lee as this great hope that we all see him as, it's because as an artist, he's used to assisting visions coming to life instead of imposing ideas.
He's open-minded.
Something,
yeah.
yes.
Well,
yeah.
And if I can add a
But
third
who,
party
then in that scenario, who will be the one giving out the ideas? Are you saying that the studios or the
He's
directors?
appeasing.
Or
I think he's like.
are they giving him information of the stuff that they try to do, and then he say, "Okay, we can do this. Let's put this character here, this universe here." Is he the?
Well,
is
Jim
he
Lee-
orchestrating?
But it goes back to the
context,
directors being the writers.
Yeah,
right?
in that context, Jim Lee would say, "What story do you want to tell? Here's how we make that story work."
Story.
As opposed to a writer in that capacity,
Right.
would
But
say,
who's
"How do
telling
we
him?
change that story in order to make it work?" Whereas Jim Lee would say, "How do we bring that story to life as you want to tell it?"
He's becoming more of the knowledge consultant rather than the person telling them, "No, it should be like this,"
but also
which is
right.
what GJ.
He-
GJ did.
He's an enabler.
Yeah.
He's not a he's not dictating.
Dictating.
He's
Right.
he's collaborating and saying, okay,
Yeah.
how can I help?
Yes.
Well,
There
and
we
there's
go.
another major shakeup that like drastically changes that dynamic, and that's the introduction of AT&T.
Mhm.
And Warner Brothers and DC for a long time had a locked down expectation of one character at a time per medium per play, like not necessarily with comics, but like with movies, it was very Green Arrow Supermax didn't happen because of the Green Arrow show. Green Arrow got pulled off of Arrow because of Joe Manganiello's movie, but then Joe Manganiello's movie wasn't happening anymore, so then like Arrow came back or Deathstroke came back to Arrow, like all sorts of like weird stuff like that, because they were like, well, we can only have one character in a medium per time, and Flash was like a weird exception to that. But that was like the way Warner Bros. And DC was operating. And on one hand, you understand it because they're trying to maintain a brand consistency. They don't want to muddle it down with too many different characters and et cetera. However, now AT&T comes in and as part of an acquisition, not just for DC, but for everyone, for every single segment of they bought it's like going to a garage sale to simplify what happened here, and just carrying out a box of it's just a box that's like $500. Everything that's in it, it's a mixed bag. You take it out, $500. That's a weird price for garage sale. Don't pay too much attention to my analogy. So you start going through the box, and it's like, what's in here? What do I need? What do I want to keep? What's useful? What can I use? What should I give away? What should I sell? And so AT&T is doing it. They're going through the film catalog and saying what needs to be on HBO Max. What rights do we want to retain? What franchises should we put forward? And you hear these rumors like of the potential of like DC Comics getting sold off or shuttered or whatever, and that's all very real things. You're talking about a company that evaluates the value of things in like the multiple digit billions of dollars and what they can bring, and then you look at DC Comics' role in that infrastructure to AT&T. That's not, they don't care about that money. Whatever DC brings in, they don't care about that, for comic books at least. For merchandising, for movies, there's revenue there that they care about. Or in TV, they care about that. But they're doing their audit. All of AT&T's people is looking through what did we acquire with Warner Brothers? What do we have? And they're like, okay, so we own Batman, we own Superman, we own Wonder Woman, we own Flash, and they're looking through this, and then they're like, why are we only selling one of these? Like, why do we only have one of these out at a time? Like, we own all these things. Why? And which is really weird to say, because in the comics it's been the opposite since forever. Nobody's ever been like, oh, we've already got a Batman comic, can't do two Batman comics. That's too much.
Oh, God, let's put 10 out at the same time. You know?
There are many comic runs.
And so you have Jim Lee then as the head of DC, and you have AT&T saying, we might shut you down. We might sell you off. We might just start publishing trades only. We might going direct to consumer. Like, they're making these changes. And so you have Jim Lee, who he's got to keep the brand alive. B, he's got to appease AT&T's demands of, like, why are you only selling one Superman? Like, he's your most iconic character. Why are you like, we're not going to use Superman except for this scenario, or any of this stuff? It's like, just put it. Superman needs to be in animation and comics and movies and merchandise and TV. Have 2 Superman movies going on at the same time. We don't care. People buy Superman. Superman is one of the most iconic characters in the world. Why are you putting him in this box? And so how do you satisfy that as someone who believes in DC, believes in the value of the DC brand? Jim Lee, you're put behind this desk in the same way Jeff Johns was put behind it with Justice League, and Jeff Johns was told, save this movie. They need it to be lighter. They need it to be shorter. They need it to be whatever, less confusing. And so he makes all these changes and royally screws it up. But now you have Jim Lee in that same seat, and they're saying, you need to sell the brand. You need to sell the characters. You need to open it up to do more with it. And your DC, how do you fix that? Well, you got a multiverse, right? You can do anything with the multiverse. And so why is Jim Lee hitting that so hard? Well, he knows that A, it's the future, but B, it also is the way you save the brand is by opening it up to be able to be sold. Because if you're going to lock down and you're going to say, nope, we're going to keep doing the same thing we've always done, DC's going to be gone as we know it. Their comics, they'll go to trades only. They'll like, I don't even know what that looks like, how it works. The characters aren't going to go away. We're still going to get the characters forever, but like, DC as you know it is going to be done.
Well, what's amazing,
you adapt to make it future proof in the way that it wants it.
What's amazing about Jim Lee and doing that is because I don't know, I got comics when I was a kid, but it was like Spider-Man and X-Men because that's just what I got when I was younger. And I'd go to the comic shop.
Trader.
Yeah, I'd go.
It was the 90s. He had taste. I understand.
Exactly, right? It was the 90s. Like, literally, I remember that. I remember that and Pogs because we all know about
Pogs.
Okay? Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
so I would get all that stuff, but it's fascinating to me is that I never really bought a bunch of Batman.
It might be an issue, right?
Yeah, I never bought anything Batman when I was a kid, and I remember after watching, because I knew some of the stories, but after watching BVS, I fucking went full on into comics. I got into all these fucking comics. I bought all this comic shit, and I think Jim Lee is doing that. What Zach did for me, but just now, because the fact that they're introducing this multiverse. That's gonna make a lot of people go, wait, what is that? Because I mean,
trust me, it has.
Yeah,
yeah. And so I think that's.
Can you tell us how this whole thing works?
Okay, give me one moment, Steven. Hold on.
Right. And I think that's the whole point that Jim Lee and I say that because Jim Lee and Zach are really good friends. So I think look, like his omnibus right there. God, look at that. So I think
in a rare.
I think Jim Lee,
cool.
and Zach kind of talked about it because I'm sure Jim saw a bunch of comics get bought after Zach introduced The Death of Superman and The Dark Knight Returns, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are both 2 big stories that get talked about, and so now all of a sudden Jim Lee's bringing out this whole fucking multiverse.
Well, and look at all the toys. Look at how many, I don't know what merchandise sales were, but even just in BVS, you've got Armored Batman, you've got Nightmare Batman. Like, every time you have a new Batman suit, you're selling stuff.
Yeah, it's different.
Like,
without
that's what I'm
like,
saying. Like,
remember like the old movies, they had to like make up different costumes just to sell more toys. Like
yeah.
I remember there's so many different versions of like Keaton's Batman with like different costumes that were different colors just so they could sell more toys.
So
there was a Keaton Batman, and I had a thought about Tim Burton and the way he created his atmosphere about 26 minutes ago, but we're way past that now. But when it came to like the toys, I remember there was even one Batman that literally had Michael Keaton, like him, Bruce Wayne, and you could put the cowl on his head.
Yes, I had that
I
one.
had that
I had
too.
that one.
Yeah.
I had one of those animated series where it had the
So-
spring-loaded head that went
Yeah,
down.
Oh yeah, that flipped or something like that, or something
well,
like
this
that.
is what I'm leading
So
to with
cool.
what I think Jim Lee is going for with this whole multiverse, right? Let me say, okay, this is a veteran Bruce Wayne. We don't know what happened after Selena Kyle and Penguin. You're
Yeah,
not going to tell me that
Mhm.
you're not going to put out series and have writers come out write new comic books to fill
They
in all that
tried.
history?
they already
Right,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm talking about now.
Yeah,
with Jim Lee in control.
Well,
Mhm.
in today's day and age, we talk about the idea of like Zack Snyder doing a series and how much like news that would generate. Imagine if DC were to do it like now in today's day and age, and you know that it's leading up to a movie to say fill in the years. Even if people don't necessarily read it, the amount of press it will get about like think of the headlines like DC reveals that after Batman Returns, Michael Keaton XYZ, like that, like every time one of those is published, you're going to get all that.
What you
Yeah.
would get is what DC's been doing, which is it would
Suck
be
the air out of the
a
room.
weekly chapter digital comic that would come out week to week, and then once enough chapters had been released that would make a single issue, then they go and print the printed copy of the single issue, and then you have people buying the weekly digital chapters. Then you have some people who buy the single print issues, and then what happens when you get about 6 printed issues? You get a trade.
Graphic.
And every
You get a novel.
and you have people talking about it every day because it's Michael Keaton's Batman and it's leading up to a Flashpoint movie.
Which is
Mhm.
exactly what they did. They did that with Batman 66, where they wrote in continuity, like they wrote Batman 66
Yes.
comics.
Yes.
This would just be Michael. This would be the Burton verse. They would probably even call it like the Lost Years or whatever to fill in the gap. That's what the Injustice comic was. It was the game starts and they acknowledge in the game that. I won't ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like the inciting incident happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What was the Injustice comic? It was the 5 years leading up to where the game starts. And when that book was coming out, the owner of my comic book store said, "This book is the best book DC is putting out right now."
Oh, it was the best.
I love Injustice.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, like what would happen if all of a sudden we start getting these fucking outstanding stories involving some kind of Burton-esque, world where all of a sudden he's dealing with Riddler and Mr. Freeze, and it's not what we knew of.
Per the point that Scott raised recently on the DC Film Squadcast, those books are on display as you walk up to the checkout aisle at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
They can be right there, right next to the.
You don't have to go to a comic shop. You don't have to think about all the like all the people that would be buying that on a whim. It's $3, $5, whatever.
Yeah.
It's right there. I think that's a good note to end on, boys. I mean, we're going 3 hours.
We're
Shit, it is.
The time really flew. I mean,
Wait,
Vegas
I
cast.
haven't mentioned my show yet.
Broadcast right now.
How
I was supposed to go to
embarrassing.
bed. I was supposed to go to bed like 2 fucking hours ago, man. Grace is telling me.
Grace is telling me.
The internet was trying, man.
Yeah. All I know is to wrap up this whole thing is there's so much potential out there, and I think DC, Jim Lee, and all those guys are finally realizing hey, we're not going to do, and I think Screen Rant actually wrote an article that said they're going to be the anti-MCU.
Yeah.
It feels like that, which feels like we're in that right now. So it's going to be something pretty great, and I think we're all pretty excited about it, and we're all going to be discussing it for hours and hours, like we're doing all the time every Friday, which is what what we love doing here. But anyways, guys, for like the 16th time, go ahead and promote yourself, Mr. Scott McKay.
Well, considering that Steven just dropped the name of my show, I can be found at the DC Film Squadcast, available on any podcatcher of your choice, at the website squadcastmedia.com, and I can be reached individually at ScottDC27, as you can see in my Chiron. Yeah.
There you go, Mr. Chris Wong Swenson. Go for it.
Chris Wong at Ping Pong Flicks. And
YouTube.
Yeah.
Mr. John Garza.
Y'all fucking know who I am.
Power move.
Yes.
This guy.
So why don't you let Grace speak for once?
Oh damn!
Can you put her on?
Can you put her on? Wake her up.
All right, Mr. Ben Everett.
You can find me at Mr. Everett's.
They don't know.
Yeah, they know who I am. No, they don't know who I am. The Real Emotion Podcast on YouTube. That's REEL. Real.
Yeah, not real like real like a real. Anyways,
exactly.
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, you can find me at Screen Rant. You can also find me on Twitter at SM Colbert, as well as my podcasts.
No, we don't need to hear about that.
We break down Batman v Superman by the minute. We're about to get into, or we are into the Nightmare episodes, and as I announced at the last of our last episode, Rich Citrone is joining us for the next couple. To talk about the Batman stuff of the Nightmare sequence. So that was awesome. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And available on iTunes now is Justice League by the minute. And it's going to be for Zack Snyder's Justice League leading up to, and then also as once it's out, we'll do a by the minute breakdown.
There you go. Wow.
Zero.
That's going to be a lot of minutes, 4 hours plus.
A lot of minutes.
That's more minutes.
Yeah.
All right. You can have no. All right, guys. Well, appreciate it. I ran out of vodka a while ago. So cheers to the vodka stream. Thank you, everybody, for joining the stream as per usual. Until next week, we will definitely talk to you guys later.
Yeah.